back to the Corona Open here at JBay. Beautiful conditions on day one of competition. Day 4 of our event window. Ronnie Blakey joined by Peter Mel. Pete, what a way to kick things off here. The waves are firing, the world's best are turning up. We've already seen some excellent scores dropped.
And with the last few days of surf that we've had on hand, these guys are well in tune with this walls of JBay. I can't wait to watch these next few heats. We've got some incredible stuff. First round, get to see who's been in tune, who's been putting in the extra practice.
Absolutely. Adriano de Souza comes into this event in equal third position. In a great spot, he's up against one of the rookies this year, Frederico Moraes, and another fellow Brazilian in Jadson Andre. A great lineup, plenty of talent in the water at the moment. Adriano de Souza, Pete, he has to be the favourite in this one, but it's Frederico who's going to get things started. Well, and we watched his morning surf, and it was a struggle to find some good quality waves, but now the lineup is open to himself. Only 2 other surfers in the water, so you would figure that he's going to find some walls. It is so deceiving here, though. When you're sitting in this lineup, every wave looks absolutely perfect. Here's the replay of Jadson Andre on the next one. A little more foam on the face. But again, on the backhand, you have to choose certain waves that are going to give you that nice pace, able to get you top to bottom. So again, making that choice for Jadson. Hasn't had a lot of great competitive luck here. Has been struggling to make it through a few heats. So this is going to be a big event for him. And then we take a look at Adriano de Souza. Of course, he is going to be the one who's going to sit on that outside, deep on the section. He's going to try and get those first quality set waves, which he has. Double barrel, right out of the gates, looking for a third cover-up, which he finds. So great start here for Adriano. Again, getting here early, putting in that extra time, which he always does at each and every event. He makes sure that he's going to be in tune with the lineup. Adriano de Souza, just experience coming into play there. 2 weeks prior to the contest kicking off, Adriano arrived here in South Africa, set up camp here at JBay, and he has been putting in plenty of time out there in the lineup. He is definitely a major threat in this contest, but he hasn't been past the quarterfinals before here, Adriano. He has run into some really tough competitors, Pete, but I think that run of quarterfinal finishes gives you an idea of where Adriano sits in relation to the best out here at Jeffries.
I would agree. You know, he's right there just sitting. I mean, when you talk about JBay and who those championship tour surfers you look at, you know, you talk about Kelly, Mick Fanning, Jordy Smith. You know, those are the guys that you kind of look at as being the best.
And they're the guys that have been able to overcome Adriano in those quarterfinal heats. All 4 names you mentioned there. Here we go, Jadson Andre. He's up once again, as you mentioned, Pete. Hasn't had a lot of success here competitively. 5 events prior to this one, and has only had 1 heat win. But finding some good rhythm here at the moment, letting go of some solid turns. Just love the placement of that floater on the final section there.
Well, he's got 2 boards in 5'11" range, so they're both the same size. One a pintail, one a squash tail. He said he was going to try the round tail today, which is the pintail design. I think that's a good call. I mean, these waves, especially when they're as perfect as they are here, those round tails just grip in, allow you to push a little bit more on your turns. He's doing that here. Again, he doesn't look like he's wasting any time. He's going to get that early lead, try and get those waves under his belt early in the heat, kind of establish himself a rhythm, maybe a lead. You know, his first 2 scores, though, coming in pretty much in that fair to low range. Let's take a look at his replay here, but again, you have to carry a ton of speed, and then as soon as you see that wall start to slow up, that's when you can start getting into rhythm. You want to see that rail engage from the inside rail to the outside rail, which he's doing here, especially when he gets to this section where it starts to steepen up. That's when the backsiders really excel. That steeper wall, again, nice variety in the maneuvers he chose there. It's easy to get into a rhythm where you're just going to do that same style of turn. Jadson doesn't do that. Again, the size of waves affecting this score, though. I mean, he's taking those smaller waves. Judges are going to really take a notice. When you start looking at judging here at JBay, you know, what are those things that are really going to stand out? You know, and those bigger, longer waves, those sizable waves definitely stand out to you. You know, and just riding those kind of mid-sized waves, it already hinders your score automatically.
Definitely seems like Jadson, though, is eyeing off some of those inside runners. That steeper wall really suits his backhand, and it looked like he was enjoying his own form out there in the lineup strata.
Yeah, for sure. You know, watching him paddle back out, I've watched all the competitors do it. They get to watch themselves on those big screens, the replay screen. So as we take you guys through the replays, these guys are taking themselves through it. So they get the vision, they don't get any audio, but they get to watch their form, their technique, everything they're doing in the lip. They get to enjoy, you know, what's good, what's bad about their surfing, and really calculate a heat as it's happening. So pretty interesting to watch these guys come on their way back out, you know, basically just critiquing themselves and then going back out and maybe fixing or staying at exactly what they're doing after watching themselves on the big screens.
Hey, Strider, you know, you've been watching these guys paddle back out. We don't necessarily see them going through that motion here on screen. Is there guys that are looking like they're just like no problems with taking wind? I mean, because it seems like this wave is so long, it's going to take a lot out of you.
I do. I think it does take a lot out of you, Pete, but I think that these guys are conditioned. They've been here now for a good week, you know, probably warming up, and they've been surfing every day. We've had waves, just not to this caliber. So they've kind of gotten their feet in the wax. They've understood what it's going to take out here. They've paced themselves. They understand the condition they need to be in. So they've probably taken the time to really, you know, understand that, calculate that for their days to surf. And I haven't seen anybody winded yet. You know, I've seen everybody really actually energetic and flying through the lineup. I think you kind of run off of adrenaline and pure stoke when the waves are this good and the conditions are this good. You just really have this energy from within and that pure surf stoke that they call it. Only a surfer does know the feeling, and it's that vibe, the energy just lifts. And when you're in a heat, there's, you know, the adrenaline. There could be a little bit of nerve in there every time you paddle for a wave out here. It's just that feeling of getting excited of what's to come down the line. So no nerves really out of these guys, though. Absolutely ripping through the top and energy, and all the levels are going through the roof.
Can tell your psych levels are through the roof, Strider. Absolutely buzzing out there, the best seat in the house, and we love that insight because we do miss a little bit. Just Strider's, just the distance between himself and competitors. The competitors is just nothing really. It's like enjoying the surf for him. He just doesn't get to catch any waves, unfortunately. Just over 25 minutes to go. Jadson Andre watching himself on the replay. Some great surfing, but already he has to make an adjustment. Those medium-sized waves, they didn't pay off for him in a big way. A couple of scores on the board, a 4.67 and a 4.57. You make that comparison to the biggest set wave that Adriano de Souza tapped into, a lot more points came his way, 7.33.
And it's a substantial difference, and you're not going to be able to win a heat with fives. It just doesn't happen unless it's just a weird heat. You got to have 7+ rides, even 8s, especially when the waves are this perfect. You got to have excellent heats.
Well, Jadson might get his opportunity at a bigger set wave now. Some nice lines approaching, but it's the Brazilian Adriano up and riding, driving off the bottom. Beautiful hack off the top. Cuts that turn a little short to maintain some speed and try and get back out in front of it, but he does get caught behind. And now the surfer from Portugal, Frederico Moraes, he tucks in out the back. But he's not going to get out onto that open face. You think about the big man and that huge frame, Frederico Moraes, his style of surfing, those big rail calves. It just seems like everything is in place for a good result here for him here, Pete. The one thing he doesn't have at Jeffrey's experience.
Yeah, and it plays. I mean, it plays a huge role here because you have to choose the right waves. I mean, that set right there looked like it was going to be the best set we've seen in so long, and both these guys were too deep. And it's really unique to this wave is where you get to pick up those waves, to have the right pace. You know, it's so perfect, but you got to be in the spot to be there for it.
Just over 23.5 minutes to go. Let's check in with a legend in these parts and, well, all round the surfing world. Sean Thompson, what are you getting from these first couple of heats, Sean?
Hey there, guys. You know, one would assume that what defines a heat win is like a 9-point ride, and you saw both Wiggly, and I made a big mistake there with mixing up Wiggly and Miguel Cooper, and Josh Kerr getting incredible rides but not advancing. And the reason for that is you don't need just great surfing and great scores, but you also need a mistake-free heat. They both made critical mistakes. Wiggly came out of that great tube, did the claim, which is a two-edged sword. You know, maybe the judges are going to give you the extra point, but it made him fall. he lost his focus and concentration. And then Josh fell on his second ride, which could have, I think it ended up at like a 2.8. All he needed was a decent ride, fell off on what was a real basic maneuver. So not only do you have to surf great, but also mistake-free.
So some costly mistakes for some of the world's best this morning, but some very deserving heat winners. Federico Moraes there finishing that ride off. As we see a solid set out the back and looking to swoop on this one. De Souza, love just the line he takes straight to the bottom, straight up into that pocket, unloads, plenty of power. There's not much of him, but he is a little nugget, and he has great timing. De Souza rips into that first turn, but that wave did taper off a little.
Love how he accentuates the bottom turn. There's a few surfers on this tour that really load up off the bottom, Julian Wilson being one of them. Adriano de Souza, same thing, just compresses off that bottom turn and then just loads up. And it's a timing thing too as well, because you can kind of wait there off that bottom when you're all loaded up, and then you can spring into action. It was really unfortunate for Adriano that wave did not line up through that inside section, because two really solid turns here. You see he fades off the bottom. See how compressed he is, and just explodes into the maneuver. Again, straight to the bottom, right into another arc. Good pace on this wave because it moved down the point, but then not that inside finish section. He could have stayed with it maybe, but I think that was a good call for him. He's going to establish himself with some priority out the outside. He's got the best score of the heat. So again, experience, not only here at JBay, but just in a jersey. The guy has been born and bred to compete. He is a student. He understands how important it is to be on the best waves in a half-an-hour heat. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes.
And his goal at the moment is really just to back up that decent score, the 7.33 from early on. He does that with a 4.2, and you could tell just the approach on the takeoff of that last wave. Adriano knew he didn't have a lot of wall to work with, so the turn that he laid into, he wanted to make it count. He went straight to the bottom, even faded a little bit. We might try and see that in slow-mo, because even though it was just the individual maneuver, it fetched him a pretty decent number.
Yeah, I mean, 4.2 still, that's probably not going to sit in his two-wave scoreline, but I mean, that was an amazing turn. It could have, 4 points really was there. I mean, even with the second maneuver, which, he did get that tiny bit of a little hook and a hiccup in it as well. But again, judges are going to, this is where we talk about exposing yourself, because if there's any type of a dig in the rail or a mistiming of a turn, it's going to show up. As you see, this is, again, look how he loads up off the bottom. Compresses everything, pushing all that water through the concave, and he's eyeing exactly where he wants to do the maneuver. And he's able to do it more vertical, too. So hard to do at JBay is get that board vertical into the maneuver. You want to have everything moving so fast down the line. This wave allowed him to do that and go straight up into it. But look at, again, the transition from the inside rail to the outside rail. That's what you want to see these surfers do 3, 4, 5 times down the line. You see a little stick there. Saw that water come off the inside rail. Only a 4.2, but 2 solid moves.
Well, you've got to think back to what Jadson Andre did earlier. He had the combination of some really decent turns on a smaller ride. He got himself a 4.57. So Adriano, he's going for quality over quantity. And that was just a beautiful read on that first section. Equipment's looking sharp, and he is out in front. So Jadson in second spot after a 6.87, and Federico is after a 6.04. Some of the results from those first couple of heats rolling across the bottom of your screen at the moment. Joel Parkinson, just a very comfortable win in the first heat of the contest, and beat Durbridge in a pretty exciting matchup there with Owen Wright and Josh Kerr. Got the win.
What's interesting was kind of watching, because we've been down here every morning waiting for the call. Joel being the first heat. You remember when we saw Mick Fanning, same thing, on his way to a win here. We got to watch him for several mornings in a row have to be that first heat, in the anticipation and all of that kind of what does the wave look like, how they're carrying themselves. Joel, super relaxed. He'd show up in his suit halfway down, nice and warm, had the Ugg boots on, but psyched, stoked to be here, and also the fact that he's only won here twice, and he wants to listen a little more.
And then, like, I surfed good on my second wave, but it was such a small wave, eh?
Yeah.
But if I did that surfing on the big one, that would have been 8.5, you reckon?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, you can't be too harsh on yourself either, because that inside actually had a bowl. But those bigger ones were refracting.
I know, that's why I wasn't trying to catch the big ones again. But then Kersey's one was a joke, eh?
Yeah, there's one of those every 45. Hey, like, that was just, you know, we've seen probably 3 all morning.
If I didn't catch that other wave, I would have got the second wave behind his. But I was trying to just play to the heat I was in.
Yeah.
More like building on my total. I was trying to like just control the heat. Like, I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah, no, I did.
Yeah.
I was curious what you were going to do when they split.
Yeah, I know.
One went down, one
That's
went up.
why I was like, I looked and I was like, oh, there's no south, like real deep one coming. I'm going to stick with Kersey. But it was fully hard for me to go. Like, if the clock runs out, no one's on a wave, I can't drop in on him, and he'll beat me because you get the interference.
Of course, yeah. 10 seconds.
So I was like, I got 30 seconds or 40 seconds. I was like, nah, there's no.
How's the debrief?
Huge. Andy King, he has worked as national coach back home for Surfing Australia for a long period of time, but still being employed now. He's left that role, and Julian Wilson beat Durbidge, tapping into King's experience as a coach here at Jeffreys Bay.
But it's so important to really, even after a win, he's sitting there debriefing the entire heat, learning, always learning. And that's where that coach is, that extra set of ears, observation. But again, being able to understand it, debrief, learn from it, and move on. I mean, it's always easier when you're winning. But, it's hard to listen to that when you lose, but you got to do it.
Andy King's one of my favourite people to talk competitive surfing with, because he has a great take on it, and he is brutally honest. I often hear some of the coaches debriefing with their surfers, and they try and not be biased, but they can't help it. And they sometimes, when their surfer loses, they have this feeling that maybe their guy got ripped off. Andy, I've seen him flat out say to Julian Wilson at times, "You lost."
Yeah.
No, you needed to dig in here, and I think Julian respects that.
Oh, for sure. Why wouldn't
he loves it, and yeah, he's doing a great job at the moment, getting a win there with B. Durbidge in the first round.
And again, I mean, we can't touch on enough about the fact that B. Durbidge is here. I mean, he literally broke his pelvis, was out for an entire season, comes back, and he has come back in enough form to be, get himself maybe even to the top 10. I mean, he's come off a great event last event. He's moved up the rankings. He's one of those guys that has been a bit of a mover, and he's going to find himself, not worrying about qualification. He's already got himself into round 3.
Got to keep that roll going in 18th at the moment. Needs to keep pushing as we see Federico up. Let's see if he can click in to the rhythm of JBay. Not an easy thing to do. Your first trip surfing at this level. As he rolls through to the inside, nice drawn out cutback, gets that rebound. Jadson Andre on a better looking wave behind him and bashing away at this long stretched out wall. Climbing up into it, just keeping that flow down the line. Here's a nice deep piece of water. Jadson goes up, loses the fins for a moment. He can't maintain control as he tries to ride down off the roof. But a big exchange there. Meanwhile, Adriano de Souza just sitting patiently out the back, waiting for his next crack at a quality wave.
What's incredible about that set is how different those two waves were. You see that really the opportunity for Federico was on the outside, and it ran into some frothy water on the inside, really affected his ability to get some big scores, whereas the opposite, you see this wave for Jadson, he really didn't have much opportunity on that outside section. He had to race it all the way across, and then finally he gets to some green water. And of course, at this point, with a bigger set wave, much more opportunity. This inside section, again, for those backhanders, a little bit more vertical. Gets into that shallow water. There's a big patch of sand that has come down this point, too. So this inside section at lower tide gets much steeper. Just unfortunate there. He could not pull that last move off, getting really loose off the top. But again, this is that scoring opportunity for Federico on the outside. Again, good pace, but then goes into this frothier water. And this frothier water, especially here at JBay, much more difficult. You can't really commit the rail. So again, completed the ride, which was good for him, but just these maneuvers had to be tentative. And you see now gets in a little bit nicer water with that less foam. Was able to really kind of lay into the turn, but again, this is going to affect the score. Not able to really truly commit because of all that froth on the face. Good surfing, though. You'd have to give it to him for that, but it also is difficult when you've got a 5-foot wave on the outside being ridden by another competitor to really truly score it on its own.
All of the competitors in the mix. you know, they can click into gear here at JBay in a single session. But I got to say, watching the free surfing, haven't really seen Federico put a wave together that I see him going on to get to a big result just yet. I've seen him lay down some great individual turns, but just figuring out that the pace of this wave has maybe just eluded him a little.
And I agree. I think that you're right. We have been able to, really fortunate for us to be able to watch, because there has been surf, right? So we've been able to watch all these guys kind of get tuned up. And again, it's been a pretty long line, I mean, a pretty crowded lineup, and we haven't seen Federico find a lot of waves.
Let's see if he can snap into gear. We've got just over 12 minutes remaining. Adriano de Souza leads, Marias and Andre on the chase. Top 6 on the World Surf League Championship Tour brings us back to South Africa and to the beautiful long walls of Jeffreys Bay, firing waves here on day 4 of the event window. And the first round is underway, and right now we've got Jadson Andre up on wave number 5. A nice vertical approach on this one. Drift in the tail. Well, let's see what he can do here on the inside. We've seen him on a few waves around this size. Hasn't been able to generate huge numbers, but definitely let go of some quality turns on this one. We'll see if the judges are any more impressed.
You know, it's interesting, again, the waves he's making his committed chance on is he likes the way they look down the line and not able to get those solid moves on the outside section. You know, and so does that affect the score? Yes, you feel like this wave is something where you want to see it be utilized from the very top of the point all the way down to the end. You want to see it completed. You see, again, smaller wave, but it's going to have that long line in front of him, so he sees and has to wait to get there. You know, and there's not really any maneuver done on the outside section. So again, it's going to affect the score. You know, really nothing committed until finally it starts to slow up and he goes a bit more vertical. I like to see that kind of maneuver there at JBay, especially back-to-back like that. You know, at backhand, you don't get to see a lot of release out of the tail out here at JBay because the wave's so fast. But again, a smaller wave's going to affect the score again. Just not as committed a wave because you want to see those bigger set waves be ridden.
Not after a huge number, though. A 5.87 to make the jump from 3rd to 1st and put a bit of pressure on de Souza. But he falls just short, a 5.57. And that's going to be a throwaway number for Jadson if he wants to get through this heat. His highest score at the moment at 5.67. And still chasing something closer to a 6 at this stage of the game. Been a really tough event for Jadson, this one. Hasn't been past the 3rd round here before, Pete.
Yeah, that must play a little bit of a a role mentally. You know, when you come here as many years as you have, and you really haven't been able to get through. I mean, you could use it as motivation, and I'm sure Jadson has done that. You know, he's going to say, okay, I'm going to figure out that approach that's going to work, that's going to judges are going to like, and he's going to work hard at it. Jadson, another one of those students where he puts in a lot of extra effort. He'll take any critique he gets from everybody, and he understands the game.
Without doubt, my favorite profile piece on worldsurfleague.com is the new one that's been put up on Jadson Andre. An incredible story before becoming a professional surfer. So would definitely encourage everyone to go check it out. worldsurfleague.com/profiles. As we see, Federico up once again. Nice drawn out carve to get started. Has his pace right for those first couple of turns. And again, just banks on that rail. This wave's starting to stand up a little on the inside. Tags the lip a couple of times. De Souza up behind him. Just really has to keep a bit of a down-the-line flow happening, Federico, to stay out in front of that ride. De Souza's still rolling through the inside on his wave. Love this angle. Those JBay walls looking gold-plated out there at the moment. As De Souza climbs the roof for a moment and stomps it on the dry reef, right there on the inside.
Well, Ronnie, we've got that tide moving out. It's getting lower, and it's really helping the conditions out to pace that wave. Slow this wave up a bit, because when that fuller tide, you know, it's much closer to the reef, and it runs so quickly that it's really hard to do a maneuver. Whereas now you can start to see it. It's pacing itself. You know, it's much easier to ride. We should see the conditions just improve. We are supposed to see an increase in swell throughout the afternoon, which is great news. Also, this wind is going to be light offshores most of the day. We are supposed to see it get a bit stronger as we move through the big swell window for the next few days. But right now, you're right, gold-plated. I mean, platinum-plated.
One of the most amazing skills, I think, of the Championship Tour competitors is their ability to let waves roll through.
So true. I mean, you listen to Strider on the ski as he is just stating, it is so beautiful out there.
Here goes Jadson, holding that rail, grabbing hold of the wall, rolling through this barrel, still going, still going, still going. Can he punch through the curve?
Oh!
He can.
That is pure emotion.
How pretty was that wave?
Gorgeous.
There's a good amount of sand out there at the moment too, which is really promising. With a solid looking forecast for the event window, we could see some incredible waves. Jadson, I think maybe a little bit chafed with his scores that he's had earlier on. Good reason to celebrate there. That was a beautiful barrel ride. Strider likes it.
Yeah, that's so true. Let's take a look at it here. You know, again, not a sizable set wave, but looking down the line and realizing this one's going to stretch out, and he pulls in. You know what I really like about this wave is the fact that he stayed in it and committed to it and somehow finds an exit. Not the cleanest exit, and the judges will take note of that. You really like when you come out of the end of the hole. That one he had to kind of come across, but take a look directly into it. Good pace in the way that he was slowing himself up, speeding himself at the right times. Really tough barrel to ride here. It is a very almond-shaped barrel, always kind of that case, so you have to kind of stay really high and tight up at the top of it in order for it to not kind of hit you on the back. See, again, nice angle here as he's slowing down, sees he uses the bump to slow himself, and then gets up there, and he can get backside, he can get really small, and Jaddy does that. He gets nice and tight, keep himself in that barrel, disappears from view. Judges will see that as nice and deep and barreled. So you should see a pretty good number here, probably his best number, but we'll see what the judges think.
Just under 4 minutes to go. It is going to be an impressive score for Andre. De Souza's also about to put another decent number up. 7.93 for Jadson.
You know, as
Federico, sorry.
I was going to say
7.93 for Federico.
Yeah, we hadn't seen this wave, and that was the best wave we've seen surf from Federico by a long shot. The type of surfing that we know he's capable of, have yet to see in the free surf, just done right there on that wave. See the transition that he was carrying his speed. It's the best number in the heat.
Yeah, just had such a good paced didn't it? That wave, but also his surfing. He didn't overcommit on the first carve. He maintained enough speed to get back up into the pocket. It was a great combination to kick this wave off.
But this wave was surfed from top of the point to the bottom of the point, completely top to bottom. He had some variety, get a little loose on the turns out of the carves. You see again pushing it off the turn, but again he didn't have to chase down the maneuvers. The wall was there. Again, just snapping it. You can see he fades a little bit to set up the next maneuver, so he hits it at the right spot. And he kept hitting it all the way through. You know, it wasn't a big set wave, but he completed it from top to bottom. Didn't have to chase any sections, so it was good read for him to be able to find a wave like that.
Adding a couple of extras on the inside, but really the majority of the score came from the first 3 turns, all executed with a great amount of speed and a nice mix-up in his approach to the lip too. Here we go. Looking to drop a 5.77 now to increase his lead. We mentioned early on a competitor can click with this wall at any time, and that might be happening for the surfer from Portugal right here. This wave's starting to fade away a little bit. It is tapering. He's going to get out of there. 2 minutes to go. And we've got a couple of big scores come through. 6.5 for De Souza. That gets him back in front. Jadson a 6.9. So
he's going to be a little chafed, I think, because that was a pretty long barrel. But again, I think the judge is taking note that, you know, the exit out of it wasn't as clean. You know, you want to come out of the end of the barrel. So, you know, there's something about when those tube rides. Plus, again, it wasn't a bigger set wave. And the judges have been pretty clear that you need to be on those bigger set waves to really get those excellent scores.
And if you're not, you can convert a smaller ride, a medium-sized wave, into a big score if you go absolutely mad. And Jadson's wave, I thought it was technically such brilliant tube riding. I don't think there's a harder barrel on tour on your backhand to surf than Jeffrey's. It's almond shaped. Sometimes it kind of starts to bend out to sea. And more often than not, you're having to punch out of the curtain. And on your backhand, when you're turning onto your toes, that can be pretty difficult to do.
How's that score that just came in for Federico?
Wow.
Needed a 5.9. Got a 5.8. Adriano with the 6.5. Tight heat here. I mean, this one's separated by what? 1/10 of a point.
Well, Fred's body language sort of said it all as that wave started to fade away on him. Because he had a couple of big turns on the outside, but you know, maybe wishing that he just stuck with that white water and chipped away at it.
At this point, he is for sure.
20 seconds to go now. De Souza still out in front. Lines approaching. Not sure they're going to reach the inside in time.
The one thing about Adriano that he's been able to do all season long is he really hasn't changed his equipment. I mean, he rides that rookie, the Rook 1.5. He rides it every single event. You know, he'll change fin template slightly, or he'll change fin slightly, or even a tail template. But overall, he's been stuck to that rocker, and I think it's good for him because he has consistency in his surfboards. He knows what it's going to do.
Saw Richard Dogmarsh there, Federico Moraes' coach. A little agitated with that result, but there's some real positives there from the surfer. Hailing from Portugal, thought he put together some really nice rides. Such a close heat between all 3 competitors, but it is Adriano De Souza making the jump past round 2 directly into round 3. We're going to take a quick break. More coming your way right after this with Matt Wilkinson, Jeremy Flores and Ethan Ewing hitting the lineup. Welcome back to the show. We're here at Jeffreys Bay. It is firing, and we've got Matt Wilkinson, the current Jeep ratings leader, up against Jeremy Flores, and the rookie Ethan Ewing, who's looking to turn his year around with a big result here on these long right-hand walls. Looking forward to seeing this matchup. Jeremy Flores getting things started early here. Looks for the barrel on that first section. Doesn't quite get it, but finds it on the second. Wow. Little pocket, and he has a bit of foam to deal with on the face now. Still driving down the line, plenty of speed to use on this turn, but loses his back foot, and he'll go down.
That's that foamy water. It is so hard to stay engaged. Your board is just inconsistent and wants to just fly anywhere and everywhere. That's why you feel like you have to be really tentative. He didn't want to be because he had such a solid, really, one of the greatest maneuvers we've seen this morning, I felt. He really was able to lay into that turn, but that green water, that's what you're looking for, that water that's just that JBay wall. So again, the very beginning of that, looking at a barrel and looking at that wave, you're like, you just want to get tubed the entire wave. You see, he sees this one, it's offshore, you're like, oh, it's just going to barrel. But again, it's so difficult because this is a wave that you can't maneuver in the barrel necessarily because it's kind of small, it's so tight quarters. But that turn there, really laid into it, was able to commit all the way through. But here, tough. Board just does not want to stay engaged, just cuts loose and goes down. So this wave will probably be a throwaway at the end of it. But look at this turn. See how he has all the speed too. Gets up there and just lays into it. Has great technique in the sense that he brings that arm around through the maneuver, which adds the power element, keeps that inside rail engaged. But then there you get into this water. See how bumpy, it's like driving over a dirt road. Your car doesn't want to steer through it. And neither does your surfboard. So the back foot flies off and he goes down.
Jeremy Flores has got to be a little frustrated. A ninth is his best result this season. He's avoided round 2 losses, but other than that ninth, all round 3 exits. And I don't know if I've ever seen him surfing better. He's surfing so well at the moment. He's in great form. The results just aren't coming his way.
No, I mean, if you look at the high heat totals throughout the tour and who has been putting up the biggest numbers, he's up there. He's like 12th or 13th in that rankings of having, high heat totals. It's upwards of 13, 14 points. So he's putting the performances there, but he's coming up with surfers just to have that little bit more of an edge, and his heat winning percentage is low.
Well, this is the opportunity for him to turn it all around. Avoiding the second round losses will keep you at the top end of the ratings for a period of time on the championship tour. But here at the halfway mark, Jeremy in 17th position can really shore up his place in the top 22 with a strong finish here at JBay. But let's see what he can do here. He's having a look at this insider, so he's way down the line at the moment, tucks into the barrel so deep, but he's not going to find his way through this one.
So stretched out, these waves moving down the point. I mean, it's such a long point. There's several places you can take off. You know, there's boneyards. It has to be really, really, really big for your be able to make it from that top boneyard section. But there is a section kind of right there where you jump in at the keyhole. That if you find a wave up there, there's that main section, and then there's of course the super tube section, which is way down where that last set kind of hit. I mean, this wave is as good as they come. I mean, you cannot draw a better situation where it is positioned on the coastline. You get those predominant winds coming from the west, and they are, in the roaring 40s. But look how long this is. I mean, a lot of the surfing being done on pretty much like 20% of how long this point is. I mean, if you were to actually look down the coast, there's another quarter mile of wave that does this, and this is the best part of the section. I mean, Sean Thompson came here in '68, and his first impression, they surfed all the way down at Albatross, which we'll see here in a moment. That's where they started to surf because they thought this wave was too fast. And with the equipment changing and the ability of riding those shorter boards and being able to pump. But look at this. Look at this point break. I mean, it's awe-inspiring. You talk about coming over and looking and smelling. What do you call the plant again that you have? It's called the Ribos. Anyway, it's got a kind of a certain smell. Feinboss. That's
the Feinboss, yeah. No, it's distinctive. But here we go. A good overview of the lineup here. Boneyards. It's where you can find most of the commentators surfing on the off days of the event. Catches a fair bit of swell up there. But then the keyholes where you enter the lineup, Pete.
Yeah, right between the main section of the car park section, which is what we're surfing here, into the Impossibles and Super Tubes. Basically, the whole point, they kind of name it. But I mean, this is that kind of main part of the wave that's the most high quality. But this point definitely has waves up and down it.
Well, the name says it all. Super Tubes absolutely firing today. We've seen some good barrel rides already. Let's see what the rookie Ethan Ewing can do here. Has a style that we'll just love to watch here. Hasn't had a lot of success this season, but there's a beautiful just transition carve off the top. Maintaining his flow nicely, pacing himself well at this stage. The wave slows up a little bit now. Let's see what he can do with it. Drifts that tail. So a clean ride.
Very nice. One of the things I think that will be important as we move through these rounds is those transition maneuvers, actually having kind of something accentuating it. And Ethan has done that. That transition move looked like a maneuver, and all knowing that he had to keep that speed going, which he had done, but he highlined it. You see those styling photos of like Stephanie Gilmore or, the guys that and girls that you're just going so fast, you got to look cool going fast. Right here is that turn we're talking about. Just second one here. Again, carrying a ton of speed, knowing a transition maneuver there. You almost saw the acceleration coming out of the maneuver. Again, 2 in a row now, and as it starts to pace itself, 3 solid maneuvers. Then he goes in. That one there, a little bit of a miss, but then drifts the fins. So nicely surfed wave here from Ethan Ewing. Gosh, you just can't help, but we talk about it all the time.
Don't say it. Let's get through one heat.
Without saying it?
Without making that style comparison.
All right.
But, no, it's awesome to watch. Ethan Ewing, a 5.33. So you could see there that there was the opportunity to go a little harder on some of those turns, but it was a fast wave, and he just wanted to stay out in front of it. Beautiful style, flowed down the line, but moving forward, he's going to have to dig into a couple of those turns and take them from just being smooth to being a little bit more critical.
And being able to do them on the outside section too. I mean, I think that there's something to be said about surfing the entire wave. Whereas a lot of times you'll get I've been on these waves. You just you feel like you got to go really fast, and you got to keep going fast, but you got to choose those waves that give you the opportunity to do the maneuvers on the outside section and maybe find a little barrel and then be able to mix it up. I think variety is going to be another key element here, to be able to show us a different look throughout each and every ride.
Bit of time invested now.
Well, the big story in this heat is Matt Wilkinson, the Jeep ratings leader. Let's see what his form's like on the backhand. A former semi-finalist here bashes through that first section, sets the fins free. Solid effort on that second move. Third turn, solid also. Oh! But he just gets chopped by the lip there, and he goes down. He was on his way to a decent number. It still might be the best ride of this heat, despite the fact that he fell.
I would agree with you, Ronnie.
Here we go, Ethan Ewing up once again. And he is going to apply a bit more pressure to that rail now. Trying to up the ante. Nice float to finish.
Looking good. I like the way he's surfing. A little bit different look than everybody else we've seen on the forehand. A little more zest.
Maybe some of the cleanest rails that we've seen so far today. But big points don't come without major moves, and that's what he's going to start looking for now.
And just their pieces, right? We need to see a whole entire wave put together. And I think it'll come for him. Let's take a look here. Is again, way down the line. This is right in front of us here where we're at. But this turn, beautiful. Just the arc straight back into a bottom turn, connects with the lip, and then the float to finish. So 3 solid moves, but just really far down the point. And then a lot of the maneuver, or a lot of the score for Wilco being at the top of the point here. And I really like, this is what he does on the back end here, is he gets upside down. I think he overcommits on one of these maneuvers, which puts him in that situation where he wasn't able to keep the momentum down the line. You know, he overcommitted there. Getting that board kind of straight up and down, whereas it could have been more of a down carve, would have kept him in good pace and down the line speed to make it and finish that ride off.
It's a remarkable story, isn't it? 2016, Matt Wilkinson came here. He'd had 2 wins, 2nd. He was 8,500 points clear of the field.
which is like a second place, right? I mean, you get 8,000 points for second.
Remarkable, yeah, position he found himself in. He got bumped in the third round here by Alejo Munez last season in really average waves. It was a tricky heat. There was definitely some nerves on show, I feel. But this year, he comes into the event only 250 points clear of second place as the ratings leader. But I don't know, it just feels like
stronger.
He's actually in a better position. But what have you made of his form in the free surfing sessions?
It's been a little rough, to be honest. I mean, again, I've been able to watch. He really hasn't been, I mean, maybe he's experimenting, I think. And, you know, a lot of times what you can do is you'll find that you'll see a surfer kind of trying to practice and get a little different look, because you always want to have a point of difference. And maybe that's what Wilco is doing. You know, he's trying to push his turns a little bit more, showing a little extra flair. But there, he went back to the basics right there. That's his style of surfing. And so when you get kind of wild, you know, in your free surfs, and all of a sudden you're going out there and you're doing your competitive surfing, it still looks and has that flair. I think on his backhand, I've seen a few surfers on the backhand that really have been putting it. Gabriel Medina's looked good. Ace Bucket has looked amazing in his free surfs. Wilco, a little shaky, but that last wave there was positive signs. Only a 5.77 though.
4.6.
So Ethan Ewing taking the early lead here, a 5.33. Had a 4.6 on that second wave. I mean, I wasn't expecting a huge number, but maybe thought it would have been
better than his first.
Better than his first. Just the quality in that first turn. But definitely, I don't know, you just know the judges are going to love that punch to the lip that Matt Wilkinson always provides on the backhand.
Well, it's hard to do. It's hard to connect with the lip out here because you really want to be out on the face. You know, that's what you generally feel is the best feeling. But anytime you get really, truly connection with the lip, it's hard to do. You know, again, this is that facial turn right here. It's that out on the face, the beautiful arc, man. It's straight to the bottom again, connects with the lip, so good variety there. You know, I just think that really hurt the score was the fact of where he took off. You know, and this is a comparison to the first wave. Again, a lot of the wave, he had to chase it down, but then gets to it here. It's almost like, you'd almost say they're kind of similar, but that turn was beautiful. Lava. But he wasn't able to connect right back to the bottom again. You know, he just had the extra moves on this wave.
Yeah, you're right. Watching it again, you can see why it was higher than the first. It's a solid finish.
You know, Ethan, for not having a ton of experience here, you know, and I don't think he came early, he would just be looking at what we have for the last few days to really kind of warm up. But he's been putting his time in. He's been in the water every time that I've been watching. So he's definitely taking advantage of this early, you know, swell that we have without running competition.
A rookie this season, current world junior champion, but winless as a championship tour competitor.
So surprising.
Super surprising.
Considering he's put up big numbers too. You remember in the first event he had a 9 in round 1. So you know he's capable.
Definitely. Yeah, confidence is probably not at an all-time high at the moment, so he's really battling to get it back. You know, and probably after these first couple of rides, his confidence is still going to be a little low, but he can fire up.
Well, he was here for Bolito. Didn't have a good result there. You know, again, so qualifying series has been challenged as well there, so confidence not exactly flying through the roof across all aspects of this tour, you know, of the championship tour as well as the qualifying series.
Just under 19 minutes to go. Matt Wilkinson, he's in second spot at the moment, needs a 4.16. Jeremy Flores chasing a 5.93, and Ethan Ewing is out in front. Let's see if he can hang on to this lead and get his first heat win of the year. Right now, though, we're going to check in with Adriano de Souza and Rosie Hodge.
Well, Adriano de Souza coming away with the heat win. Your timing on this wave is so good. That bottom turn, top turn approach is just perfection. Is that something that you've been working on?
Yeah, for sure. I'm so happy to make this heat, to be honest. Like Federico and Jadson, both are surfing pretty great out there too. So yeah, I think I'm so lucky to the last wave for Federico offering to him enough for make that heat. So I'm stoked with that, and yeah, I'm so happy to come back to JBay. When I have a chance, I come very early, and then this year I come like 2 weeks early than the event starts. So I got a great swell as soon as I got here, and it was a great time for me to put the boards and starting to work with some footage as well. Like I've been watching a lot of Jody and Tom Curran, Joe, Mick, Kelly, and even Ethan Wing is surfing pretty good. So those top guys are looking to improve my technique. So yeah, I'm happy to make something out there. Was enough for me to make this heat.
And you spoke about how close it is. I mean, did you watch Federico's wave from the back, or are you aware of your competitors and what they're doing on the waves while you're competing?
No, basically I just pray a lot. And outside I saw some spray, but I just sprayed for the last wave. It was not enough for him, to make that heat. So yeah, stoked, and was not enough. And now I'm gonna watch the event, try to learn more as I can. And I think John is approaching, coming soon, and Jody and Mick. So for sure, when I see these guys out on the lineup, I learn so much with them. So yeah, just be here, watch some heats, and try to learn most as I can.
And your boards look so well used. You bring your favorite boards in your quiver, and boards that you have trust and faith in. Yeah, for sure. To be honest, this board offered me a lot already. This is the same board I won in Brazil. So yeah, this board is looking so special. And I've been working as well with China Island in Brazil, and with Mike Andrews in California. So both guys have been working very closely and try to get the best equipment for any type of condition in the World Tour. And let's just think about that. I mean, Brazil, the condition's so different to JBay. How did you know that this board was going to work here? Basically, just mind, when the board's good, and the board's good. So that's why I put in my board, but I don't think about this board's going to work at JBay. So as soon as I put it on a lineup, and it works pretty good. So that's why I always keep my favorite board. Well done, Adriano, and we'll see you in round 3. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rosie. And I love that question, because it's true. You often see someone when they find that board, whether they've had a win, it just feels magic. We saw it with Matt Wilkinson. Doesn't matter about finding the right board for the wave. If the board's right and it gives you confidence, stick with it. Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you've got a certain way that you put pressure on your boards or on your feet. Some people are front foot, some people are back foot, some people are really versatile in both. But a good board's a good board, and how you're going to get your speed out of it, how you're going to get, how those maneuvers are going to come in and out of those maneuvers. It's not going to dig any rails, so why would you change it? I mean, a wave's a wave. A wave's going to move and change too. But if you can keep something that's actually stable, that you know how it works all the time, then you'd stick with it. And prime example, he's been riding those Rook 15s, those Rook 15s are from Channel Islands. He loves that equipment and has stayed with it. Well, back to live action now. Jeremy Flores using priority for this wall. Big hook off the top to get started. Has plenty of speed. Just whips it under the lip. Back out there onto that big green wall and just rolls through another big carve. Oh, starting to bash away at this wave now. This thing's going to run off nicely. And Jeremy has the speed and variety to let go of a number of solid turns there. That was amazing. He did show us a ton of variety, from a really tight arc where the section asked for it. He had one section he had to kind of cut short and turn underneath the lip. And then there's that one open section where he let the rail stay engaged throughout a big turn. So again, showing us a different type of style and where he was holding the rail for a long time, or he's doing a quite quick snap each time, water flying off the rail as well. That's always good. It accentuates the turns. To see here again, he sees this wave down the line is going to give a good pace on it. So he's able to get the maneuver done on the outside. That's that kind of longer arc. This one he has to turn underneath it, but it's a pretty nice turn because water did get him off the rail, even though he turned underneath the lip. But then there was that beautiful long arc, connects with the lip there. So again, all these turns a little bit different. There's two snaps that were very similar towards the end there, with that one there and then this one. But again, when you got water flying off the rail, it's all good. Judges will understand that. And then, of course, Ethan on the wave behind it here, and he makes a bit of a mistake, carrying a ton of speed, goes into this turn, and just loses it. That's that. When you're trying to unweight off that inside rail, to
keep the momentum going down the line, you can get off balance. And you can see he unweighted to be able to shift it back to that inside rail for the bottom turn, and that's when he got overextended. He fell over the top of the rail. So a mistake there for Ethan Ewing, and of course the score is going to come in for Jeremy, and he's going to take the lead.
7.83 for Flores. A big number. And Sean Thompson, I know you're going to love this. He kept that board in the rail. There was no free-falling floaters. Nice speed throughout.
Yeah, you know how I hate those free-fall floaters. It was good to watch Jeremy on that wave. Interesting to see the way that Jeremy approaches a wave here at JBay. He sets his rail. You can contrast his surfing with like Jordy Smith or Mick. They'll just set their rail and punch the turn. Jeremy does like 3 sort of sub-turns and then hits his rail. For myself, I like guys just to set the rail, but certainly it was a really good wave for Jeremy. He showed a lot of speed, a lot of reactivity, especially that one maneuver he did. I actually thought he was going to catch his rail there. But there's just that contrast in how guys see power, how they utilize power. And like Richie Porter said earlier, which I thought was really astute, this concept of speed management. So out the back we have Wilco. Really cool wave. Oh, he goes down there. But, you know, one of the things that I think Wilco showed all of us this year is that amazing improvement that he's made in his surfing. What he showed us in Fiji, those big open face carves, frontside attack. You know, we always thought of Wilco, man, this guy, like, where did he come from? He's got a great backside attack. But that technical open face carving surfing, the deep tube riding, and also the fighting spirit, I think blew my mind. What he did against Conor O'Leary in the final, when he got badly drilled twice in a row, sucked across that reef, paddled straight back out, and got the wave that won him the contest. So showed us fighting spirit, and also those open face power carves were truly sublime.
I was going to ask you about that. Matt Wilkinson, before 2016, he had 6 years on the championship tour and had always struggled to requalify. Have you ever seen someone go from battler to contender the way Matt Wilkinson has?
No, it was amazing. I mean, the guy just came, he's sort of like party animal dude, long hair, you know, roller skates, and then boom, he's suddenly a contender for the world title. And as an outsider, just kind of looking into the circuit and seeing this guy explode on the Gold Coast, and then this year with his second and now with his first at Fiji, it's been a fundamental transformation, and that's what's so exciting about surfing and the potentiality of these surfers is they can go from zero to hero so quickly just by kind of having an attitude change, because certainly your surfing can't change overnight. That's
right. Well, Matt Wilkinson's forehand has improved so much this season, Pete. That's what we saw him really rely on to get the victory over in Fiji. But his backhand has always been his weapon, and at the moment it's not working for him. He's taken another fall here, a lost opportunity on what looked like a beautiful wave.
For me, it was pretty simple. I mean, you talked about the attitude change that Sean just had mentioned. It truly was. It was like, you know what? I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to train. And I'm going to figure out what I have to do to get better. And he did that, and now he's a contender. Hard work pays off.
Well, just on 9 minutes, 30 seconds to go here. Beautiful wall rolling our way. Ethan Ewing in priority. Takes this wave, drives off the bottom into this first section, and he can't set that rail. He goes down, and the wave just rolls off forever without him. Jeremy Flores now grabbing the wall, stalling for the barrel. He'll find an exit, trying to get rid of a 4-point ride to increase his lead. He's on his way, still finding that cover, and he is buzzing. Just pushes hard on the tail there, and he's going to pull through the back. Jeremy Flores hasn't had a lot of success here at JBay in years gone by. Just one time he's been past the third round in 7 attempts.
That is the epitome of JBay. Just mocking down the line, pulling up into the barrel, and you can just see that was pure stoke and adrenaline for Jeremy. I mean, that was one of the biggest waves we've seen all morning. I mean, it was a bummer to see Ethan Ewing going down to the first one, because that was a great opportunity for him to get back in this heat. Mistake there, and then Jeremy capitalizing on that mistake.
Well, Matt Wilkinson up on a medium-sized ride. Looking a little frustrated. And trying to smash his way back into this heat. 8 minutes to go. Jeremy Flores, I think he can expect a huge score. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ethan and Matt are comboed in just a moment.
Well, it's interesting, though. I mean, that wave was so perfect. I mean, it's hard not to just go, oh, gosh, you want to give it an excellent score right out of the gates. But the first barrel, it wasn't super deep. He almost misread it slightly because he's like, okay, I got to get down the line, knowing how far it was. But he wasn't real deep here. But this section, underneath it, carrying all that speed, disappears from view. So 2 barrels, and then a third little cover up. I mean, if you were to put, you know, there wasn't one really deep barrel in there, but then the snap to finish it on a double overhead wall. He knows full well that he's adding to that 7.83, but look at the water angle.
Look at this wave. Amazing.
When was the last time we've seen JBay round 1 surfed in conditions like this? It's been a long time.
Been a while.
You know, generally you'll get 1 or maybe 2 if you're lucky, big swells during a window. But right now, the opportunity being that we've had great surf just for the last few days to be able to not pull the trigger, Kieran holding back to wait for the swell that was supposed to be forecast. But again, the forecasting here, probably one of the most difficult. You know, yeah, you can say that there's going to be a lot of swell, but you don't know what the winds are going to do. You don't know if the angle is going to be right. You don't know if it's truly there, you know, the swell, until you wake up in the morning. So it's risky, you know, to be able to wait that long. But it's paying off right now.
9.17 for Flores. That last wave, multiple barrel sections, and found the exit. Also threw in a nice back-footed jam to push the score a little higher. 6 minutes remaining here, and Ethan Ewing, Matt Wilkinson have a lot of work to do with the time remaining on the clock. They're both chasing a 2-wave total of 17.01. They've had the waves, Pete, but some costly errors.
Well, Sean talked about it. Mistake-free surfing. You cannot make mistakes here. It gets exposed. It is very evident. You know, you either on the wave or wave choice or making a mistake in a maneuver, and you make that, it shows, it's quantified by a big margin. And again, you know, Ethan and Wilco are feeling it right now.
We could hear the crowd lighting up as Jeremy Flores thread the barrel on that last wave. Rosie Hodge is in the mix. How is it out there in the grandstand, Rosie?
Oh, it's too much fun, Ronnie. We're here at Casa Corona, and just the vibe on the beach. I think the crowd is about to triple as Jordy Smith gets ready to hit the water with Mikey February and, of course, Connor Coffin. So we have so much to look forward to. The waves are absolutely firing, and this is what we come here for. I mean, it's a weekend, the sun's out, the waves are firing, and we couldn't ask for much more.
I don't know about you, Rosie, but when the waves are this good, and we've seen a couple of decent attempts from Ethan Ewing and Matt Wilkinson, but when they're this good, do you get kind of nervous for the competitors that they maybe might blow a section at the start of their waves?
Oh my gosh, am I nervous? I mean, every time I paddle into a wave, I get nervous, but when it is this beautiful and perfect, there definitely is that over froth that can take over you. So you have to calm that excitement down a little bit and really just stay in the moment. You don't want to blow a good one.
I think Sean Thompson has hit the nail on the head in the past, and we'll check in with Rosie again later on today, but he said that on your first couple of trips, this wave can be overwhelming. There's so much you can do, and deciding on something is sometimes very difficult. You know, the guys who are best out here, they never look unsure about where they're going to place that big turn, and I think they have the power and the finesse on the rail to drive through the section with all that speed. We've seen Ethan Ewing now with a couple of attempts just holding a great amount of speed, but almost it looks like he's unsure about which move he wants to lay down, whether he wants to draw out a big bottom turn and go vertical or really hammer the rail.
Getting that caught in between two minds, right? And you're right. I mean, there is so much you can do with all that speed. You get a little too excited. And, you know, I'm guilty of it. We all are. You get too excited and you just blow up.
Well, the situation might work out for Matt Wilkinson and Ethan Ewing here, because they're really no chance of turning this heat now with just 3.5 minutes remaining. That will give them an opportunity with first and second priority to perhaps tap into a wall and just take a breather, take a bit of time and click back in to these long walls.
Well, there it is, a cheap leaderboard. Matt Wilkinson at top, but I mean, there it is, the top 5 separated by just less than 1,000 points. I mean, so it shows that those are their title contenders. Owen Wright, unfortunately, has a slip up, so he's going to be in round 2. Adriano took his heat win. Wilco looks like he'll be in round 2. So opportunities for John Florence, Jordy Smith, and Adriano to kind of separate themselves slightly.
3 minutes to go. This time last year, Matt Wilkinson, despite bowing out in the 3rd round, Pete, left South Africa wearing that yellow jersey. Do you think he's going to be wearing the yellow jersey at the end of this event?
It'll be tough. I think there's too many guys. I mean, especially when you look at someone like Jordy Smith, who has won here 2 times, but is very comfortable and is very confident coming off his Bolito win. We had talked about how he's going to look, his form. You know what's interesting for me, though, in the last few days, is I haven't seen Jordy put a lot of time in the water. He has been kind of taking his time. I think he does know and understand this wave, so he doesn't have to put in a lot of extra experience. So he was able to get here. He's already been here a few times this season. It's been a pumping winter that he's had the opportunity. So again, I think he's kind of saving his energy, savoring and kind of waiting it out.
Well, maybe not in the last few days, but in the lead up to this event kicking off, Jordy tapped into some really nice walls here at JBay and is always a standout.
Doesn't have to over practice. Why not just take your set time and kind of chill and soak in the energy?
Looking forward to seeing him hit the lineup. That's coming up next. Jordy Smith, Connor Coffin, Michael February. What a heat that is.
Oh, so much. I mean, you look at February, he's able to get the semis in Bolito, his best ever QS campaign. Now another opportunity here at JBay. We've seen him here in the past. He gave a good run in those early rounds. So it'll be fun to watch February.
And then Connor Coffin, as far as visiting surfers go, I don't think anyone in recent times has collected the kind of free surfing footage that he has out here on these long walls.
Ton of experience at a wave that's somewhat similar, you know, the Rincon. You know, he's definitely comfortable in the colder water. Again, just those beautiful big long walls. His surfing suits it to a T.
Time ticking by here. 1 minute remaining. Jeremy Flores, his last 2 rides have set up a solid lead. 7.83, 9.17 on one of the best waves we've seen all day, all week.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, all year. I love it.
45 seconds to go, and Ethan Ewing and Matt Wilkinson will have to fight their way through the 2nd round to stay alive in the mix. So the pressure will be on both those competitors. Ethan hasn't yet progressed past the 2nd round in 2017, and Matt Wilkinson does not want to let go of the #1 position here at Jeffries. Well, Matt is going to get an opportunity here to find his pace on these long walls. Has semi-finaled here in the past. That was a couple of years ago in really nice conditions, sizey conditions. As he tries to work this one over through to the inside. Tricky little rebound there, just losing the fins. But it is Jeremy Flores making his mark here in the 1st round. He's not going to exit that barrel, but he won't be too disappointed about that. He had enough time behind the curtain in this heat.
He sure did. And that wave's not even going to count, but it doesn't matter. Those guys were both comboed, beating 17.01. Jeremy Flores, best heat of the day so far.
And plenty more to come. Potentially the most exciting heat of the contest coming up next. Jordy Smith, Connor Coffin, and Michael February will keep it rolling with Joe Topel and Martin Potter.
Round one continues here at the Corona Open. JBay, stop number 6 of the World Surf League Championship Tour. Already starting off in really solid conditions. What a day for pro surfing. Joe Chappelle alongside 89 world champ Martin Potterpotts. I know you would have dreamed of having a venue like this on tour.
Oh my goodness, that last heat with Jeremy Flores in the barrel. I mean, that's just a little bit of a taste of what's to come, Joe. The waves are starting to pump. That swell is starting to arrive, and we've got some incredible action out there.
Looks like we already have a rider in motion. What a beautiful hook from Connor Coffin from Santa Barbara, California. Draws that line out one more time, using so much of the open face. Down carve, setting up this little inside wall to work with. Connor lights it up off the lip, little layback to change it up. And now he's just gonna fill in the gas and kicking out to see a rider in motion. Just for a moment there. It's Jordy Smith, he pops out. So packs the first section. The two-time JBay Open champ just getting his feet wet, running through this inside corner. And now hopping out, so a great opening start. Connor wetting that rail and Jordy on the answer.
Yeah, wave number 2 for Jordy Smith, wasting absolutely no time. I think he watched Matty Wilco and Ethan Ewing come up short in that last heat, so just trying to get the ball rolling, which is super important. It's one of those days, Joe, where we've got this long period swell, so you're going to have those purple patches through heats, and you just want to make sure that you've got a couple of good waves under your belt, and when those good ones come through, you can afford to light it up. So Jordy Smith, a dual winner out here at Jeffreys Bay. Let's have a look at his form. Riding a bigger board, you can tell, just a big, strong kid, and laying that board on the rail. I love this heat. Connor Coffin, just as powerful as Jordy Smith, but about half the size, really. Jordy showing some variety, nice little tube ride here. Fights his way out through the end, so showing some variety of repertoire with that speed and power. The judges want to see it in the combination of major turns, and Jordy Smith did exactly that on that wave. And Michael February also had a pretty good wave to start off with as well. So this heat is off to a flying start. Connor Coffin honing his skills on the Rincon wave in California, Joe. So this is going to be no stranger to him, even though he's a semi-rookie on tour. This is year number 2 for him. He's looking very, very comfortable out here, and he's looking dangerous. I mean, real solid, low center of gravity surfer, real powerful, no mistakes and no mucking around. I love that, the synergy between his maneuvers. I love joining the dots. I love that no mucking around. It's just put the board on the rail and unleash some big maneuvers. And this was Mikey February from South Africa, the wild card on his opening wave, coming fresh off a semi-final at Bolito in that QS 10,000. Showing some form, this kid. A little bit more of a lanky surfer, beautiful style. He has got some incredible moves as well, and you can hear the crowd. The South Africans are loving this action here, 2 of their hometown boys. And what a heat we've got on our hands. Wow, what a way to start.
Start Potts, Mikey February getting that first wave during the break. Now his second start here at the Corona Open. JBay is a wild card representing Cape Town, just down the road, probably about an 8-hour drive here from Jeffreys Bay. Spends a lot of time strike missions to surf this place as good as it gets, and we always love that hometown local boy story, especially here in South Africa. Jordy knows exactly what that's like. His first win on the championship tour came at JBay. His second win, same venue. He gets something out of the crowd. We'll see if that works for February as well.
Yeah, you know, and I think, you know, he does get a lot out of the crowd, Joe. I think you can see he's a different human being when he paddles out here at Jeffreys Bay. That's for sure. He's got so much energy, he's got so much amp, and he just wants to do well for the crowd. We always talk about the crowd here at JBay. It's a very knowledgeable crowd. They love coming here. They make the pilgrimage from all over South Africa to come and watch this event. It's their one opportunity to see the best in the world on one of the most phenomenal waves on the planet. So Jordy Smith feeds off that energy, as does a lot of the wildcards, as you said in the past. Sean Holmes, for example, he was virtually unbeatable out here. Took down Andy Irons a bunch of times. So there are some Cinderella stories, that's for sure.
You look back and you just gave me the chills bringing up that name. That's still a heavy name around these circles, Sean Holmes. So wild card representing South Africa would haunt the likes of the world champs like Andy, like Kelly, and always put on a good show. And he's always quick to thank his heroes. One of the most humble guys to ever give a post-heat interview, as he was obviously a giant killer and a big part of the memories here at this event.
He was almost apologetic for winning these heats. I mean, you know why? Because he's not in that world title race, and he knows he's affecting that by taking those guys down. So it was very humble moments there from Sean Holmes. But hey, when you surf that good, it's going to be hard to beat him.
But as we know, when we get here, the most important part is, well, not really the VIP stand. The most important part for the contest is where the judges sit. That's the first thing that goes into the play, where the judges' view is on this beautiful wave. We have head judge Richie Porta with us now. And where are you talking to us from, Richie?
Morning, lads. We're pretty much straight in front. We're in between where the boys are sitting now and down towards where they finish the end of the ride. So we get dead smack in the middle of the whole ride.
Well, we talk about angles quite a bit of viewing a ride, and you've emphasized that for years, how important it is to really set up the judges' tower. Is this one fairly easy to set this one up?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. We have some cameras down towards the point a bit further for when it gets bigger later on in the week, because as you see the barrels, they sort of run away from you. So if we always like a camera straight in front, if that view for us gets a little bit away from us, and that's why if you look down the point, you'll see a series of camera towers which we have access to. So whether they take off a bit further from where they are now, or whether they ride it a little bit further down towards the point, we've got them covered.
Well, Richie, we've got an amazing crowd here, especially with two guys representing South Africa. Do those cheers enter that judging tower at all?
Yeah, we can hear them for sure. We're surrounded by them, they're in front of it, but you know, the loudest cheer then was for Michael's first wave, and he got the lowest score. So that just goes to show that we don't take any notice of that. We enjoy the crowd enjoying the riding, but we have a job to do, and do it without any influence from the crowd, the sponsors, anyone, you know. It's just like we've got our job to do, and if you sat here and watched what happened, the crowd goes wild, and you've got 5 guys sitting there stony-faced dropping scores.
Richie, talk to me a little bit about how difficult it is to judge this wave. Obviously, you know, it's such a long wave. How does the criteria come into play here?
Yeah, it is a long wave for sure, but as we talk up here in the judging booth all the time, it's about the speed of the wave and when to slow down and when to speed up so that you can fit those turns in the really good sections of the waves. And you see the really, really good surfers out here, they know exactly when to jam it straight up there, because if you miss that section and you still get an okay turn in, you see the difference, and we're chasing that quality surfing on those combo turns, and the scores are reflecting that. The guys that are getting those turns in the right position of the wave, and with a little bit of varieties tossed in there's really cool. You know, the tubes, if they're a really good barrel like we saw Jeremy's, it's always going to score well. It's the same as Josh Kerr's earlier in the day, but you really need to know how to surf this place to maximise your scoring potential, because you can get the best wave of your life and be 2 feet in front of the power source and pretty much blow it.
Richie, I know length of ride not really part of the judging criteria, but does it come into play here at Jeffreys Bay?
No, not really. It just means the longer rides give you a better. Oh, sorry, there was something just melted in my towel. I don't know what that was. Sorry. Yeah, but we don't go. Oh, we don't count turns or anything like that. It's all about the quality of turns. So you can get a really good score on less amount of turns. But having said that, because it is a long point ride, hang on, I'm just going to watch Geordie now.
Thank you, Richie. Watching Geordie Smith now. Slam on the brakes. Puts himself nice and tight in the barrel. A little bit of a travel time, and he's down. And still with head judge Richie Porta. Had to watch that for just a moment as you were discussing the length of ride. That's an old phrase that was in the criteria.
Yeah, for sure.
Got knocked out for good reason.
Yeah, back in the day, because that just promoted moderate surfing. You know, it's like, oh, I went for a really long wave and did some nice turns, but it's all about the quality of surfing. And as surfers, you don't necessarily want to have to ride the longest wave to get the best sensation of surfing, and the scoring reflects that as well. So guys jam 4 or 5 turns versus 7 or 8 sort of medium turns, they're going to get the better scores.
Nice international panel along with you, Richie Porta, on hand. A lot of familiar faces, and oftentimes as a judge get called up maybe for the first time to score JBay.
Sure, and this year we've got Luke Reading from Australia. He's one of our up-and-coming judges, and he judged a few CTs around the world, and this is his first go at Jeffreys Bay. The rest of the boys have been here quite a few times, and he's enjoying it well and truly. Like, if you can't enjoy this place, there's something really wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
We're right there with you. Thank you for the time, Head Judge Richie Porta, breaking down the scoring potential, one of the most famous right-hand point breaks in the world. Really the wave that measures all point breaks in comparison. If you scored the venue itself, it's a 10 here at JBay. Because of the speed you gather, you're able to get barreled and do the turn of your life on demand, and it seemed like there was an evolution that changed when Jordy Smith came along. He added a progressive element to this wave where he could mix it up from the big power hooks and also go above the lip, which wasn't really seen too often, even when airs were pretty popular at different venues.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's, you know, to sacrifice a section to do an air, I think a lot of guys weren't prepared to do that, but in the modern day surfing now, you know, these guys are lighting the wave up all the way through and then finishing off at the end with something crazy. I mean, we've seen some pretty big aerial maneuvers. One that sticks in my mind, Julian Wilson's big alley-oop, and you know, it's just the way these guys surf these days. I mean, there's you know, guys are doing aerials now, cloud break, and I dare say we go to Tahiti, we're going to see some closeout aerial maneuvers there as well. So these guys are always pushing the envelope, always pushing the limits, always trying to find a different line or a different way to ride a wave and keep it interesting for us.
So Jordy Smith, first ever championship tour win here at Jeffreys Bay. That year it was over Adam Melling in the final. 2011 came back and was able to go back-to-back for his titles. That final was stormy, raining. Everyone was trying to find shelter just to get a glimpse of that battle against Mick Fanning. Then the venue disappeared for a little bit. It was a QS in 2012, and thankfully for all those qualifying series warriors, because that was one of the most dreamy JBay swells we've had in competition history.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thankfully it's back on tour as a World Championship Tour event. You know, showcases the world's best, and you know, it's just so relevant in the world of surfing, and it has been for a very long time. As you said, it's the yardstick when it comes to right-hand point breaks. There is no better wave than this, let me tell you.
As we look at 20.5 on the clock, Jordy's still out in front. Let's catch up with Jeremy Flores with Rosie Hodge.
Well, the best wave that we've seen of the day so far, 917, belongs to Jeremy Flores. Just talk us through that beautiful canvas you had.
That wave, I think, couldn't go wrong. It was such a beautiful wave. I've been here for a while. I've been here for nearly 10 days because I lost early in Balido, so I've been around, and it's been so crowded in the free surf, it's hard to get a wave like that. So when I was paddling, I was all stressed, and I was feeling a bit of pressure. I was like, this is the best wave I've had the opportunity to be on the last 10 days, so I better not blow it. And I don't know, the wave was just amazing. Couldn't go wrong, like I said. It just had to stand there and get barrel. Little claim at the end. I don't usually claim, but it feels good. Like I said, when you get a good wave here, there's so much energy in the crowd and everything. You just want to, like, yes! So it's sick.
And you know, just talk to me about that excitement and that pressure, because you've surfed so many heats before. How do you kind of not over froth when the waves are this good?
Trust me, I was thinking exactly that in the water. At the start, I caught like 4 waves, couldn't get above a 4, and I was okay. Jeremy, just sit down, just relax, breathe. You stand to make a fool of yourself catching all these waves, and it's like 8-foot bombs. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to. I mean, it's not hard. It's easy, but it's hard to keep composed and you know, to really relax. And it's a long wave, so you gotta keep your energy. And I feel like I'm always like, all right, first one, all right, second one. I get to the third one, I'm already like no legs and all tired. So you gotta really. I think the good guys here, like Jordy and them, they really know how to pace their flow and their speed. So that's the thing to do. So even after all these years, I'm still trying to figure it out.
And on day one of competition, to wake up and see waves like this, and the forecast seems to be getting better and better, how do you pace yourself throughout the event?
Oh my God, I woke up this morning at dark. It was freezing cold, and I went surfing. First guy I saw was my brother Michel, and we were like, oh my God! Like, we look at each other just like, ah! I couldn't even say a word because it was so good. I mean, this is what we're on this tour for, you know, to surf waves like that. It changes everything. You know, after all these years, like, it's sometimes I kind of lose motivation. I'm like, oh, like I I get a little bit pissed off for not much. But when we get waves like that, it's all worth it to be on the World Tour.
What's so special for us to watch? Well done. We'll see you in round 3.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rosie and Jeremy Flores. You can still see him beaming after getting the best number of the morning so far. Multiple barrel sections. Yeah. And I loved how he broke down his heat. He had to reel himself in. It's pumping. He wanted a piece of every wave. I've seen you, Potts. You anchor it. You wait for just the best ones. That's hard to do, though. Everything looks perfect.
Well, that's it. You know, it comes with experience, Joe. You know, you've got to be patient. And I think that comes with age. You know, when you're a young guy, you want to catch everything that's moving. But the older you get, the more you realize, hey, I don't have the energy to catch 100 waves, but I do have the energy to catch 3 absolutely perfect waves. So,
and it seems to be a great recipe to get through heats, especially scored on the top 2 system that we have been running for over a decade now. Jordy Smith is able to revel in that scenario on tour. Top 2 promotes radical surfing, especially at JBay. Long rides, you can be very selective. Jordy already has an 8.33. Connor had a 7.67 before. Now here comes the wild card from Cape Town. Mikey clips that one off the lip. Sets that rail, draws it off the top. Clean connection off the roof with a huge down car from Connor Coffin. February fading, setting up the inside track as Connor sets up the barrel behind him. Connor comes out, February finishes. Now a huge slice for the kid from Santa Barbara. There's a reason why JBay is one of Connor's favorite venues on tour as he slams it shut with a huge layback car.
That's how powerful that turn was.
An absolute Jeffrey's Bay special.
Wow.
To fight back against Jordy Smith.
You know, Michael February had priority, took the first wave of the set. Seems to me like the second one was better. So even with all that experience, Joe, you're still going to manage to try and find the right wave in the set. Jordy did momentarily catch wave number 3, but it was covered in white water, deciding to kick out of it. But let's go back to Michael February's wave. First, double pump bottom turn, just setting the rail, beautiful style. Nice, clean, smooth, looks super light on his feet to get around that section. And again, off the bottom, nice gouging maneuver. I love that layback turn that he has. Point of difference, which he's showing. Unique style, which I love. It's super hard to be unique in this day and age, but this wave kind of petered out at the end. Got a little smaller as it moved through the inside, but still, Michael February finishing nice and strong on his feet. He's going to back up that 6.0, but right behind him. Joe, this was the best wave of the set. And Connor just unloading on the first turn. Drawing off the bottom, checking it, waiting for it, slowing off the bottom, pulling up, driving through that section. Comes out nice and clean, and that wave still as big as it was when he took off. A beautiful turn again from Connor. As it comes down through the inside, now the legs are starting to burn. You've got to take your time, you've got to pick your turn, you've got to finish strong. He knows that. And he does exactly that with a big meat hook from Connor Coffin. 7.67 his opening wave. I love that drawing off the bottom. I love his positioning. It's a very technical barrel, Joe. It's not a wide open tube just yet. The bigger it gets, the better it's going to get. And we're going to see more of that as this event goes on.
An unbelievable finish from Connor Coffin, earning a 9.37 from the panel. Now taking top honors with the best number of the day so far in round 1. Heat number 5 sends Jordy Smith to second, eating an 8.72, and Mikey February looking to break a combination. Jordy now with priority. Here's the answer, and we'll figure out how he's going to try to get the lead back. But you love how Coffin stepped up his game. We knew before his rookie season that he was going to love JBay. He had done strike missions. He even made a film called Highline because he loved the feeling of going absolutely 100 miles an hour laying into a carve. But it looks like his turns are extended even further with even more power than last year.
You know what? He's got that low center of gravity, and I think it bodes well here at Jeffreys Bay. I think the taller you stand, the less sort of energy you're going to have through your turns, you know, the less gouging maneuvers like Connor Coffin did on those 2 maneuvers, the first one and the last one, and then filled in the gaps. You know, his stature, his build is absolutely perfect for a surfer. Just real nuggety, strong, low center of gravity. And in waves like this, well, 9.37, need we say more?
Just celebrating a birthday a couple of days ago here in South Africa. He's in such a solid place. He learned a lot from his rookie year last season. As we prepare for some massive heats at this point of the round, world champ John Florence.
Have fun.
Is planning on having a good time in this next heat against Ian Gobert and trials winner, local boy Dale Staples, which is coming up next. If you're just joining us, Connor Coffin before the break just laid down the highest single score of the day. Not just for one big hook, multiple big turns, a big barrel, and a finishing move that we would dream to know what it feels like. But
you know what? People would pay big bucks to be able to do a turn like that, and it comes on the back end of a long, draining wave. And Connor Coffin, you know, you hear people talk about timing. You hear people talk about picking the right turn at the right time. Well, have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't get any more radical than that. And Connor Coffin drops the single highest score of the event so far, a 9.37. Has Michael February in a combo situation. Jordy Smith needing an 8.72. Currently sitting out the back with an 8.33. So Jordy Smith still in with a shot. Michael February got a lot of work to do.
What a classic matchup on paper here. Connor Coffin in the lead. We know all the fans on the beach appreciate all the pro surfers here, but they hear the biggest cheers probably with Mikey February and also Jordy Smith being a two-time champ and their hero and their big hope to bring in a world title back to South Africa. It's been fun to see Jordy grow through the last few years on tour, fighting through some injuries and maybe one of his better starts in his career in the making here in 2017.
You know, we're talking to Sean earlier in the week, and, you know, Sean's had a chat to Jordy quite often, talking about, you know, maybe a little bit of mentoring involved, but, you know, Sean said, hey, Jordy looks like he's in the best place he's been since his career, and basically Jordy talking about the fact that his year starts now. This is an event that he's going to try and use to slingshot him through the rest of the year. A good result here for Jordy Smith is very, very valuable. And just for Sean to notice that it's a different human being he's looking at right now, maybe a sign of things to come.
What about competing on what you would call your home court? We know Jordy growing up in Durban, but this is basically his backyard with so many strike missions, long extended stays. Does he feel like he has to protect something against the top 34?
You know what? You do get yourself in that headspace. I mean, I definitely felt like that, you know, when it was hard for me to try and win in Durban growing up there. But there's people that feed off that energy, and I think Jordy Smith is one of those guys. Like, he definitely feeds off the energy coming out of the South African crowd, and he feels like that this is his to win, not, you know, and it's not his to lose, it's his to win. And I think 2 wins here back to back, and you know, I think he's looking good. He needs a big score, but it's not over yet.
Well, I've been loving reading all of the 77 World Champs write-ups and catch-ups that Sean Thompson's had with Jordy over the years. And Sean, I remember one you wrote back when you couldn't mention Jordy without saying Dane Reynolds when he qualified, and you remembered how he had so much going on in his life at that time, bidding wars for sponsorships, and you've really seen him grow up to the man he is today.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first met Jordy as a contender on the World Tour, I wrote an article about him and I called it Man on Fire. Man on Fire because he was just ripping, but also he was in a big hurry. And he was in a big hurry to burn it down. And I remember in the article I said, man, sometimes victory doesn't always happen to the swiftest. And it's certainly taken Jordy, I think, a few years to become more self-aware and come to terms that the victory's going to happen. He doesn't have to chase it. And right now, as I said earlier, I think he's in the best position he's ever been. He's looking so relaxed. When you just look at his face, he actually looks a couple of years younger. He's in tremendous physical shape. I mean, he's cut. And he's just... his surfing today is what the judges are looking for. I mean, you saw that great wave from Connor there, those huge power surges, and it's like Jordy's the king of that effortless power surge, maximum acceleration, and putting it on the rails. So I think he's really well positioned this year. I think he's relaxed, and I think it's going to be a hell of a few days here that we're going to have at JBay watching Jordy put it on the rail.
Sean, I know you thrived in having that home court advantage, winning six Gunsons in a row. Does Jordy feed off that energy like that as well?
I think he does. I think he knows how much South Africa loves him. I think he knows how much South Africa wants him to win a world championships. And for me, I won my world title 40 years ago, and for Jordy to win this year 40 years later, it would just be amazing. So the whole country's rooting for him. I mean, they're very stoked about Michael too, the young guy. But, you know, they really want Jordy to win. He's got the support of the entire country, and he really does feed off it.
Thank you very much. Former world champ Shaun Tomson, big star in the movie Bustin' Down the Door. If you guys haven't seen that yet, check it out. Shaun, one of the members of really a tight crew that really created what we're seeing today and what we call pro surfing.
Joe, you've got to go back and look at Free Ride. That off-the-wall footage of Shaun in the barrel, still to me the best tubing I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
On a single fin.
Still relevant today, which is great to have him on hand for the call. 6 minutes on the clock, and Connor Coffin trying to reroute the South Africans into round 2. So far, so good for the kid from Santa Barbara. Kicked off with a 7.67. He's going for big change-ups, layback carves, big hooks. A 9.37 speaks for itself.
Yes, it does. But to start off with a 7.67 was that's definitely what Connor needed. It settled the nerves. You know, you look at you heard Jeremy talk about that. These guys all woke up this morning and saw what they were greeted with. So, you know, the amp, the excitement was already there. Now you just got to fit those turns in on the wave and do everything right. Michael Fabry surfed incredibly well. Started with a 6, he backed it up with a 6.33, but he's not showing that power and that big rail surfing that I think he's going to need to do if he's going to match it up with Jordy and Connor Coffin. At the moment, Connor, though, with the pick of the bunch. Jordy, though, 8.33, still well and truly in the game. He's only looking for an 8.72, and I say only because I know what Jordy Smith is capable of doing out here at Jeffreys Bay.
What a great effort from Mikey February. The biggest thing he's done this morning is gotten the crowd on their feet. As we see the big down carve that started it all. 9.37. Connor knew he was going to get barreled, waited for it. Great pace with his speed, came out without a problem.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is what dreams are made of. Jeffreys Bay producing the goods, and Connor Coffin showing us why he is going to be one to watch in the future, especially out here at Jeffreys Bay, surfing it like a true veteran.
4:30 on the clock. Priority with Jordy Smith. As we'll see Mikey February from Cape Town get started. He's going to slam on the brakes, looking to get barreled, now disappearing. Looking for something major, the layback carve off the top. Stretching this one out, down towards impossibles, and he'll set up that carve, full roundhouse on the end section, right off the lip again. And Mikey February kicks out, the fans on their feet. Definitely the biggest stage he's been able to compete on in his amazing career. Coming off a huge result up in Bolito, where he actually had the matchup with Jordy Smith. Jordy went on to win, but he ran into the semifinal action with Jordy, got equal third, and moved all the way to number 4 on the qualifying series rankings.
Wow. But this is a different beast, isn't it? There's WCT, as you said, the biggest stage, and Michael February slowing himself down. Nice and tube right there. Beautiful positioning. And this wave speeding off down the line as he just hooks into it. I love the style of Michael February. I think that, to me, is so pleasing to the eye. And he's got some good moves under his belt as well. Beautiful swooping turn there, nice wingspan, and then finishes off nicely. So Michael February surfing incredibly well, but still got plenty of work to do. Unfortunately, after that last wave, still in a combo situation, Joe.
So a big combination for February to tackle with just 3 minutes on the clock. But you get to see that fresh tempo, that rhythm, that spring in his step off the bottom. And he's still very unpredictable. Up in Bolito at the QS 10,000, he'd spring into the air, huge full rotations. He has big carves, but I think it's that spontaneity and that different kind of tempo to his rhythm that really makes him one of the more exciting surfers to watch.
Absolutely. It's part of what you need, you know. You need to have that spontaneity. You need to have that bag of tricks, you know, that ability to take off on a wave and people are sitting on the edge of their seat going, what is he going to do next, you know? And I think that goes well with the judging criteria. Variety of repertoire, combination of major maneuvers. You've got to have that in your bag. You know, if someone's doing the same turns as you, you've got to show the point of difference. Sometimes it's above the lip. Sometimes it's what Connor Coffin did and just absolutely lay that board on rail.
Jordy Smith's been patient for his comeback wave. A lot of drive to set up the first turn. The big float. Straight up through the lip, a power hack from Jordy Smith. He's winding up, lay back dagger. No time to waste, packing the pit one more time. And that one's gonna take him down. You could tell Jordy felt the sense of urgency there, moving quickly through his points. I don't know if he could surf that wave any better, but it didn't let him through the inside corner.
No, that's not going to be enough. You know, it's the question was going to be asked, was that an 8.72? And I think the answer was no. Why? Because you could tell how you said there was a sense of urgency in Jordy surfing on that wave. I would have preferred to seen him sit and wait. There's a minute and 15 remaining. Who knows? A bigger set comes around the corner. He's going to get it. He's going to get the score. Forcing the issue on that last wave, it's not going to work for Jordy.
So down to the final minute. Priority is with heat leader Connor Coffin, putting together such a solid start. 7.67 out of the gates, and then getting the highest single scoring, right, a 9.37. As he's now playing a smart game, paddling closer to Mikey February to try to close this one out.
Yeah, well, Michael February is still in that combo situation, 17.05, so he's not necessarily the one Connor's watching. I think he's more got his eyes on Jordy Smith. 6.43, Joe, so as we both thought, not enough on that occasion. 30 seconds remaining. So it looks like Connor Coffin is going to delegate the two South Africans into round number 2.
Connor waving his hands, just asking for another situation call. Wants to know the numbers, how much time he has, priority. He'll be happy, though, in a few seconds from now, knowing that he's put together some of the better waves of the morning and also sent one of the favorites to win this contest, the guy in the world title race, into round 2. So Connor showing why JBay is one of his favorite venues on the championship tour. Puts together a highlight reel to take him into round 3.
My gosh, I'll tell you what, he's looking so sharp. He's looking very confident. He loves this wave, and he's going to be a danger man, that's for sure.
Really impressive performance from Connor Coffin. Moving on, coming up next, world champ John Florence takes on Ian Gouvet and Dale Staples. Well, it's been a gorgeous Saturday morning here at the Corona Open JBay. We're into heat number 6 of the opening round, and this one features our reigning world champion, John Florence, represents Hawaii, and the high seed in the matchup. He takes on Ian Gouveia, rookie from Brazil, and a wild card from just down the road at St. Francis. Dale Staples won the trials to earn this spot as a wild card for the 2nd time in his career. Now take on the world's best in brilliant conditions here at Jeffreys Bay. We'll kick things off with Ian Gouveia. He carves back into the pocket, sets up a clean re-entry on the backhand, flows right into the barrel. Doesn't get the barrel he was hoping for, so back to turns. A couple of fading cutbacks for Gouveia's warm-up. It's going to bowl now up by the bricks. A little more of a lip to work with, squares up a few times. There's the connection for Gouveia, and he'll jam that one shut. More waves on the way. Florence sets up that opening highline wrap. Deeper off the bottom, there comes that front side hook. Good section, laid back power jam in the pocket, right into a forehand carve. Fade his way through the flats. Only his mind knows what he's planning for us on this inside ramp. Few setup carves, and now lips starting to show up. Layback jam off the top for John. One more hack to finish. And that end section's brutal sometimes, Potts. That takes him down.
Yeah, well, it's on dry reef at the moment, Joe. Until that tide starts going further and further out, we're going to see these guys really roll the dice on that last section. But there was definitely some damage done on that wave. I'm seeing a little bit more intent from John in this opening exchange. Have a go at that turn. And then watch this next turn here from John, just showing the variety. Just lighting that wave up. So John Florence has come out of the blocks firing on the back of a couple of average results. Brazil and then Fiji, which was a little bit of a disappointment for John. He is looking fired up, Joe. That water's looking good under his feet. And I think he's really here to make sure that he gets a good result. Finishing off all the way through the inside, going for it on that last turn. But there's a lot more energy involved in John Florence surfing today than I have seen over the last 2 events.
Really impressive to see him just start off with so much variety. It's starting to go what we're just always expecting out of him. His first few years on tour, he had a couple injuries, had a couple slower heats. But now things are different. He's already a world champ. He's very consistent. He has Ross Williams in his corner, and his boards are looking very solid and sometimes unique from Paisel. That board he brought to Margaret River, we're still talking about it because it's one of the best performances we've ever seen.
Absolutely. That was one of the most dominant performances I've seen in a very, very long time. Comboed everyone all the way through that event. I think his average was in the high 18 plus points, into the low 19s. Some of those layback turns he was doing were bar none some of the most incredible maneuvers I've seen, that's for sure. I want to see more though, Joe. I want to see him do exactly that here at Jeffreys Bay. It's a wave that suits his style of surfing. It offers him a long wall with plenty of opportunity to show us some crazy stuff.
Ian Gouveia kicked this one off, Potts, with a 5.5. Florence a 7.5. And now priority is with the local boy, Dale Staples. Dale has been out there surfing kind of up at your side of the point the last couple of days. Potts up at Boneyards, just getting a little bit of room to move. And he was talking about that trials day. He said it was unbelievable. The wind was just holding these barrels open, and he just was able to do his thing and get top honors over a really healthy pack of locals that all dream of sitting in his position.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely worthy, that's for sure. And I think he's had John's number quite a few times over the years as well. There's been a few events that Dale has unhinged John, so I'm sure John in the back of his mind has got that. Wants to pay some payback time, maybe.
It's always interesting when you look at rivalries, and sometimes those underground rivalries that you have to really dig deep to find. Going to the qualifying series, Dale was actively looking to be a full-time competitor on tour. Around the same time, John was trying to qualify as well. So they ran into each other at different venues all around the world. But now at the biggest stage at an incredible time, Florence going for his second world title after just losing the Jeep yellow jersey in Fiji. So something to prove here. And also almost going all the way last year at Jeffries with a runner-up performance to Mick Fanning. You could tell John would be very hungry coming into this event. Having a look now, this is Dale. He's going to get the crowd behind him. No problem doing that. Beautiful float. Snap to float. Stretching this one out down the line. Goes for a big power hook off the top. Maintains control into another tight route. Fades himself deep, and he's going to get out of there. So Staples waiting very patiently, and the crowd loves it.
That was some serious rail surfing there from Dale Staples. Unfortunate that wave just didn't have that inside section on it. But there was some serious damage done out the back. I mean, a good start to the wave. Just cruising along. Little check turn right there, waiting for it. Now he hits the gas. Wave starts to line up. Dale drives around the section. Watch this turn right here. Hooking into it, throwing a lot of spray. Dale Staples, and again, just some man turns from the young South African. He's not going to make it easy for these other two guys. Easy. Wildcards have proven to be very dangerous out here in the past, and Dale Staples wants to keep that rhythm going.
I love the rhythm, specifically at Dale Staples. His timing, he's patient, really reminiscent of a Sean Holmes when he just would all of a sudden come around the corner and lay it down, Big Ben.
Oh, wow, look at that. That's just in the lip. Critical stuff. Almost caught the nose of the board, but managed to pull it out and then straight into the next maneuver. Beautiful style, beautiful positioning, and you hit the nail on the head. He's got that timing, hasn't he? He doesn't rush. It's that a moment when you really got to connect with the wave, and Dale Staples knows that very, very well.
Things have changed for Dale in his competitive surfing career. Had major sponsors backing him, and after things change a little bit, it gets very expensive to continue that travel around the world. We know Dale deserves to have a spot on the top 34, but he's kind of taken some different roles. He's actually a drone operator, so he flies the drone, and he's actually able to get a lot of the great images in Jordy Smith's movie Just Now that he created. Dale's brother, Dane, films with Jordy full time, so he was able to get some work done. Happy for Dale. Now he can take the drone and put it on the sidelines and get back in the water where he belongs.
Yeah, absolutely. With surfing like that, he definitely belongs, that's for sure. You know, and in this day and age too, though, Joe, if he can manage a good result here, who knows? In the future, the Commissioner's Office might consider another call-up for Dale, so he's got to really try and capitalise on this opportunity.
That's been one of my favorite changes in pro surfing since the World Surf League took over. The Commissioner's Office, that was a brand new concept back in 2014, and KP, our commissioner for the men's side, knows that he can bring up someone like a Dale. If Dale gets a solid result, he can consider him for any event to come based on this performance. You keep points. The idea is to have the best surfers in the world on tour, and if you earn it on the big stage, that's massive, and you could be really rewarded for it. We haven't seen it happen yet, where a wild card has gone all the way to really take over the top 34. We'll see if it happens this year.
Yeah, well, Yaga Dora almost did it, didn't he? I mean, semi-final in Brazil, and then got the call up for Fiji. So those opportunities are there for these guys, and I love the fact that the WSL have given that opportunity to these kids. We do want to see the best surfers in the world on tour, and I think they are, Joe. I don't think there's anyone better out there than what we are watching here today.
It's great to see. There's so much amazing competition in the world of surfing. Dale Staples coming from the trials. As you look back to great wildcard performances, the one man that comes to mind that was able to turn in a brilliant performance and then re-qualify, Sebastian Zietz, did that when he thought he was thinking about a new career plan. And next thing you know, he's back on the top 34 and he's surfing better than ever.
That he is, and he's going to be coming up next. Not next, but soon-ish.
Soonish. So many great heat spots to look forward to in round one. Kolohe, Italo, Leo Fioravante up next. Then Julian takes on Kelly Slater and Kanoa Igarashi.
Wow.
Seabass has the heat with Mick Fanning and Joan Duru.
There's no easy heats, is there?
Last time Dale was a wild card in this event, got through the trials back in 2010. There's only 12 names in the draw back then that are still here competing on the top 34 in 2017. So it's a totally different feel. A lot of guys have retired or moved on or fallen off. When Dale had his first heat back then, it was Taj Burrow, who's since retired. KP was in there. He's our commissioner. So this whole tour has got a whole nother feel for Staples as we watch Ian Govea. Punching through this inside section. Had the 5.5 before. He's really hunting the barrel. Tight little tube ride, makes it out. Setting up the rail work, forces that one off the top. Rides out prone, and he's going to try to shake that one off.
Yeah, I think the Nuvas are going to win over trying to get barreled like that. Obviously, Ian Govea loves the tube. He's seen what's happened so far today. He's seen guys getting barreled out of there, you know, for long periods of time. Obviously, Jeremy Flores, Connor Coffin in those last couple of heats. But you need those big bomb sets to do that. You need the big waves. You need a couple of big turns to add onto it as well. Got to combo it up. I think if you're just looking for the tube ride by itself, we saw Jadson Andre do that. It wasn't a huge score, but Dale Staples as well, driving through the section, just a little bit too deep on that occasion as well. That wave running away. I think you're better off sticking to turns on the smaller waves, Joe, and leave the barrels for the bigger set waves that sort of maybe a little bit more wide open.
All these guys thinking about the game plan plots to succeed here at Jeffreys Bay. For John Florence, before he qualified for the tour, South Africa is always one of his favorite surf destinations. He'd always rack up video parts up and down the coast, including JBay. This is last to Govea. What happened here?
Yeah, looking for the tube on from the get-go, and then once you get that in the back of your mind, once you're looking for it, that's kind of all you want to do, really. You can see him again tucking in nice and tight there. It wasn't super deep. You could see the nose of his board, and then going for turns. So unfortunate there for Ian Govea. It's going to be a mid-range three-pointer. There it is, 3.33. So I think he would have been better off going to turns. His first wave, very similar size. He got a 5.50 just through backside snap. So back to the drawing board.
So Govea hunting down barrels, falling on the inside corner. One of the exciting rookies to qualify this year on tour. That's been the interesting part of the rookie class story. The last 2 consecutive years, we've had 7 new faces join the top 34. Had some years where we've just had 2 new names. It's pretty hard to qualify. You got to be in the top 10 in the world on the qualifying series after we finish the Triple Crown at Sunset Beach, and then the Pipe Masters, the CT season finale. But a lot of times, top 34 surfers are protecting their valuable spots on tour. So to get a piece of it's a huge statement. And the Rookie of the Year race starts after the first heat is completed at Snapper Rocks. He'll get caught up with it real quick. Leading the pace now, Connor O'Leary, after making the big final in Fiji.
Yeah, Connor just surfing incredibly well. Zeke Lau, Frederico Moraes, Ian Govea, Andre, Ethan Yu. I mean, what a class. I mean, those guys are all amazing surfers, all dangerous. You know, once they start finding their feet, they're going to be even more dangerous as this year goes on. I'm looking forward to watching Zeke Lau out here. I think he's going to be a one to watch. Been watching Connor O'Leary. He's been out there quite a bit. Amazing backhand attack. So we've got some exciting stuff still to come.
And just kind of thinking about that big changeover. So 7 new names. That means we're losing guys that you get really familiar with on the top 34. Touching on Dale's last event out here, I mean, we're talking just a few years back, he had guys like Dan Ross, Luke Monroe, Chris Davidson, Bobby Martinez, Dave Reynolds, Andy Irons. There's so many guys that Dale can think back on as we look at John Florence flying out of the barrel to start. Big wrap right off the lip line, and he'll slam on the brakes again, and 2 arms stalling. Florence reaches on the layback hack. Flows through that top turn wrap, and John's looking to finish. He'll punch his way off the roof. There's an awkward section, and he almost pulled it off. Meanwhile, Staples is finishing up his ride. And he comes flying out of view. What a set. Gouvea's in the barrel. Looks like he's stalling to set up more. Gouvea just wants to stay in the barrel the entire heat if he can. That one's going to race down through impossibles. And we'll get caught up with the numbers. What an exchange. We'll see what Dale Staples was able to accomplish while everybody was just trying to live through every single turn from John Florence.
Wow. That's what I've been waiting for from John. Exactly that. That's that form that he had in Margaret River. That top turn is by far one of the best we've seen all day. Couple that with some tube riding that was in between. I think we're looking at something massive here.
John seems like the type of surfer that shows up on a venue and said, how am I going to approach it differently? Watching this start here.
Well, look at that two-hand drag. Now he comes flying out. What's his turn here from John? Just gouging into it and then stalls, pulls back up again. Beautiful traveling tube ride from John. What's he got for us here? There's that turn that we've been waiting for from John Florence. And another one. So John flying down the line. A little bit of mistiming right there, but all the damage was done, Joe. All the damage was done at the beginning of this wave. This was after the first tube. This is the second barrel from John on this wave. And then this turn right here, just hooking into it. All the bottom of the board there, all three fins are visible. Not many guys can do that, let me tell you. I love the stance. I love that double drag that he's got going. Clean, smooth, no mistakes right here. Watch the rail turn from John. Driving off that back foot. Cutting that turn short. That's good insight. Looking down the line, knowing that this wave was going to run again. And John, just nice and clean. Wasn't deep on that occasion. But then this hack right here, this is where the meat and potatoes are. This is where I reckon all the points are going to come from. Two barrels, two incredible turns. We're just looking at right now the best wave of the day.
Unbelievable performance from the world champ, last year's runner-up in this contest. Turns in a 9.7 on this exchange. Without the finish, didn't matter too much. If he would have pulled that, it would be interesting to see what the judges would have been thinking about. A 17.2 combined total means Gouvea and Staples need 2 new waves. Big combinations. We remember Florence trying to get his first win off Staples. Dale 3-0 in the QS format, including the QS that was at JBay here back in 2012. Florence, though, not thinking about that. He's still enjoying that last ride. This is what Dale did on the way behind him.
Yeah, Dale Staples, a critical floater maneuver. Comes around the section, another one. So 2 similar maneuvers. Jams it up through the lip again. Behind the section, stalls, gets a nice little cover up there. Still driving down the line, serving incredibly well. This is going to be a good score from Dale. Nonetheless, 14 minutes remaining. Can he claw himself out of that combo situation? 7.12 was what was required to get him out of that combo, Joe, and it looks like he's done it.
So Dale Staples digging deep. It was a loud exchange from the fans, seeing Florence get multiple barrels and some of the biggest carves off the top. Staples held his ground. A lot of commitment off the roof and landing in the flats. So smooth in transition. Will turn in a 7.9. So Dale to second. Now looking for a 9.31 for the win off John. Gouvea still in that combo position with 13:35 to go. Round 1, heat number 6. Living up to the expectations. We'll be back for more action here in South Africa after this. Welcome back to round one, heat number 6. It's a beautiful Saturday to kick off the first day of competition. A few days into the waiting period for the Corona Open JBay. Stop number 6 of the World Surf League Championship Tour. John Florence taking on Dale Staples and Ian Gouveia. And the battle for first continues. Staples from just down the road in St. Francis. Basically a true local here to Jeffreys Bay. Got to surf every solid day ever since he was a little kid. Quickly turned into a contender for the top 34. So we'll catch up with John Florence out the back. Clean start. Looks like he's back in the pit again. Oh. Beautiful flow from a snap to barrel. There's John's version of a classic grab. Stalls for a wide open cave. Beats the first section. Perfect line to try to run through this one. And he makes it. John's got more room. He'll explode off the roof. And what a heat for the world champ. His last wave was a 9.7.
We'll just add another 9 on that. And this was while we're at the break, though. So Dale Staples trying to get himself back into this heat. A good wave from him. This is his version of the barrel. This is why this kid won the trials out here. Amazing surfing from Dale. Draws off the bottom. Just hooking into that top turn. Driving again. Has he got another barrel for us? Yes, he does. Comes out of that one. Flying down the line again. Big hooking maneuver. Dale Staples needing a big score to get himself back in the heat. An 8.13, but John Florence, a 9.7 on his last exchange. Joe, we talked about once that tide starts to drop out, we're going to see a lot more barrels coming through. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Watch this turn off the bottom here. Hits the brakes, pulls in, and this barrel just keeps giving, keeps going, section after section after section, flying through that next section and comes out. And even John didn't know what to do at the end of that wave. And there's the score. And we're not surprised with that at all.
Really impressive. John Florence setting up this cave. And then it just started running through this fast track. All he had to do was just keep his eye on the prize. One of the best barrel riders in the world. Doesn't matter if it's Pipe or Chopu or Jeffreys Bay. The world champ trying to fight for that Jeep yellow jersey once again. A 9.67, 9.7 before that. The best combined total of the day so far.
Well, that's kind of what he was doing at Margaret River. So he's just channeling that. It's a very sort of, not a similar wave, similar kind of situation with deep ocean swells, reef underneath you. Commitment is necessary, and John 9.7, 9.67, 2 waves, 19.37 2-wave total. And that is what we want from this guy.
Dale Staples last at 8.13, a 7.9 before that for Staples, so a massive total. However, still comboed because of the high 9s from John Florence. So you can see how Staples really can still bring out his best whenever he's in a jersey sitting alongside the great John Florence. Gouveia needs to dig deep with 8:35 on the clock. We're coming off a couple of back-to-back super heats. Last heat completely dominated by Santa Barbara, California's Connor Coffin, and Connor is with Rosie Hodge.
Well, Connor Coffin, we know that you just have a love affair with JBay. You've had an edit from this place before, surfed here last year as a rookie on tour, but that was a special heat.
Yeah, that was so fun. I mean, this morning, we have so much swell coming, but this morning was just pumping. We're like, they have to run, and I'm really stoked they did now. It was so good out there, and just perfect conditions, and 3 people out. That's the stuff I dream of since I was a little kid, so I'm so happy to even have the opportunity to surf firing JBay. Didn't really get it last year, so yeah, it was fun.
And the never-ending 9-point ride, I mean, the variety that you're able to put on that wave, what goes into a ride like that? Are you consciously making an effort to switch up your maneuvers?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think I've surfed that wave in my head probably 100 times in the last 2 weeks, so it was just, when it popped up, my eyes were just like, whoa, and I was so excited. So it's really just staying calm and being confident on it. And yeah, I don't know, I pulled in and I wasn't sure that was the right call because it got really tight, so I was really stoked I made it through that, and the wave was just incredible.
And just free surf versus, you know, surfing a heat in conditions like this. I mean, it's so hard to get your waves when you're free surfing with everyone else, so it must be a dream to have 2 other people in the water with you.
Oh, it's such a dream. Here, I came one time and got some really fun waves, so I feel like I know the wave well. My board feels amazing. Stumbled on this thing a few days ago, but yeah, I've been here for like a week already, a little more, and it's kind of nice. I mean, a lot of times we're sitting around when it's flat, but there's been waves every day, and even though we haven't been running the contest, I've been surfing a bunch, and just so fun, even when it's shoulder high. And it's been crowded, but you put your time in, you get your waves, and that was just really fun to surf with Jordy too. He's pretty much my favorite surfer to watch on tour most of the time, and surfs so well out here, so I knew it was going to be hard. And even when he needed an 8.77, I was just like, oh god, hopefully a really good set doesn't come, because that's not a big score for him at all. So yeah, got lucky there.
And let's just talk about surfing against Jordy at his home break. A lot of, you know, hometown support for him and a lot of similarities in your guys' surfing. So what approach do you take?
Yeah, he's someone I look up to all the time. I mean, he's definitely, I mean, it's weird calling someone who you surf against all the time like your favorite surfer, but he's definitely, since I was a kid, like him and Dane when they were battling, I love the way Jordy surfs, and he's definitely someone I study out here for sure. And so I knew it's going to be a tough battle, and just, you know, I had to get good waves and surf my best. And sometimes I feel like when I have some of the bigger name guys, like I'm almost less nervous because I know they're going to surf really well, so I know I have to surf really, really well. And so I kind of have to put it all out there, and sometimes when I get in that zone, I feel like I surf better, so that's kind of just what I try to do.
Connor, thank you for your time, and well done.
Always great to hear from Connor Coffin, and you could just hear the excitement in his voice. First for the wave, just crediting the wave for how perfect it was, and then for the opportunity to surf against already one of the all-time greats in Jordy Smith, battling for that spot. You know, that's a heat that he's never going to forget, Potts.
Never, ever, ever. And I don't think that wave's going to go away in a hurry either, Joe. You know, just incredible stuff there. You know, even though you get the wave, you still got to surf it. You know, it is a perfect wave, but you've still got to manage to do the right thing on it. Here we go.
Miguel Pupo is earlier in this matchup. Ian Gouveia is the one up now. The goofy foot driving through multiple sections. It's wide open. Will this one let him out? Gouveia has been hunting the barrel this entire matchup, and that one is going to run on without him. Gouveia currently comboed at the moment, trying to fight back. Strider, we thought he had that one from up here.
It looked like he was coming out for sure. I mean, it was such a beautiful attempt. He's just gliding through the bowl. The wave doubled up and had this beautiful wall along. He's slapping the water right now down here on the bricks. So as you come down here, as the tide recedes, you'll actually get to see this beautiful reef that forms this wave out here. And you can get right down in the mix, basically very, very close to the action. Not even 50 yards, I'd say, from the guys surfing the waves out here. As you turn around, you get to see this beautiful setup that they've got. The venue's amazing. The setup's amazing. I think Corona and the WSL putting on the best show yet as far as the atmosphere and what they've got here. Absolutely a perfect place to hang out, come down, watch the event. They've got food, they got drinks, and you get down here on the beach and you got the nature, you got the bricks, they call them, this reef that you can stand on and be this close to the surfing, watch your favorite guys. I was watching John just blowing my mind out there. It's nice to see him full throttle out here.
Strider, from your angle, looking at this venue, what's your favorite part of the wave at Jeffreys Bay? Are you going to try to name the whole thing? Is it the most perfect point break in the world?
Well, I'd say that this is becoming my favorite wave in the world, just on the backhand to really see it. I haven't seen it in person. I've heard about it. Sean Thompson has given me the froth level through the top. Martin Potter, everybody who's been here before, about how perfect this wave really is. And now I've actually got to taste a little bit of it this morning and got to feel the power, the speed, the glide. I mean, coming in, rolling in out the back out there. I had a surf this morning. Jordy Smith called me into one of the waves, best waves I've ever had out here. And I was just going through the roof. So definitely, it is the best right-hand wave I've ever surfed in the world.
I like that, Strider, when you put it out there. What about Gouveia, being a backhander? How far he went on that tube ride? What kind of skill sets do you need to really be effective with your backhand tube riding at JBay?
Well, it's a really hard tube to negotiate because most of them, you know, on the tide right now, you're kind of gliding through a bowl that has kind of an almond to it. Every once in a while, it'll drain out and go wide, and you have to adjust through those. So not a lot of room to move. So on the backhand, kind of getting down low on the front of the board, really pulling up on the rail and pushing that inside rail down to stall, and then letting it go and trying to negotiate. You'll see the frontsiders having a much easier time threading the needle out here. The backhand guys getting great waves today, though. That tube that we saw at Wiggly this morning and the waves that we've seen all day from the backhand surfers in the barrel have been great, but on the open face, it's another story. These guys having to attack this wave completely different, coming off the bottom, looking at that lip line, and you have to transition. So you hit the lip, but then you have to kind of transition out onto the bowl and finish your carve down into it. You'll see the front side surfers, the front hand, get that lip line, but then carve out of it into it. So that's something that the backhand surfers have to do. That's something Mark Occhilupo did, and those are the tapes you want to watch as a backhand surfer out here. Look at these sets rolling in out the back. It doesn't get any better than this. It's just such a beautiful view from down here on these rocks. I really recommend coming down to get in the eye level because this is just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, Strider. You look over his shoulder there and you're seeing perfection coming through. With just 3 guys out, we'll see Gouveia take the first opportunity. Nice clean connection for Ian Gouveia. Jams it again off the lip. Another big hack off the top for Gouveia, the rookie on tour. Just enjoying a final ride as he'll be preparing for round 2. A wave that keeps on giving a great pace and tempo to allow him to have multiple vertical hacks off the lip. Still swinging through the inside corner and double shakas from the rookie. He'll turn around and see Florence having a victory lap. The world champ already putting this one away with his competitors. Combo, blow tail, layback, and recovers. So not just taking a ride in to save himself.
No.
Always a showman and didn't hold back on his final wave.
No, but just wait to see what he did at the beginning of that wave. By the way, it's another good wave just about to be locked in for John, but incredible stuff. I love that barrel from Ian Gouveia. You could see the water angle. He almost came out of that thing. And this is John's wave. Let's have a look. Nice solid wave here for John Florence. Is he going to better a 9.67? First turn, unbelievable. Watch the high line he takes. Races high. Look at the speed he's got. Board is going about as fast as it possibly can and then hooks into a big turn. Off the bottom again and jams it, showing some variety, showing some power. And again, another hooking maneuver from John. Bashes it up through the lip. Combination of major maneuvers. Are you kidding me? As he brings this one through the inside, John just having some fun. He's found the groove, he's found the rhythm, he knows exactly what waves he's looking for now, and he is going to be one hard surfer to beat with a bit of pizzazz at the end. Thank you very much. Another excellent score.
Unbelievable approach. We saw a 9.7, we saw a 9.67. Potts, what kind of feeling is that wave giving you right now? Oh my
gosh, I think that's up there. I mean, there's no barrel on it, but the turns, I think, were bar none some of the best he's done. So I'm looking at that squeezing in between the two. I think it's going to better the 9.67. Might be just under the 9.70. So I think we're looking at another massive score for John. Ian Gouveia, his best wave was 7.57, but nothing is going to touch John out there.
What an impressive performance from John. Former world champ Sean Thompson got a quick word from Coach Ross Williams. What did he have to say, Sean?
Hi there, guys. Yeah, it was so interesting to talk to Ross. I said to Ross, you know, as a coach, what are you working on with John? Are you working on boards, technique, psychological strength? He said all of the above. He said he's the greatest guy to work with. He's honest. He doesn't have too much pride to accept input, which is wonderful. It just shows, you know, he has that humility to know that he's willing to learn. And he really works and surfs by the ethos that everyone can get better. So, I mean, we saw that amazing display he laid down, but he's the sort of guy that still wants to get better. Wow, that was an incredible hack off the top there. So the surfing out here is just mind-blowing, and I think John just took it to like the next level.
Well, Sean, there's a lot of different eras that you've written about, you've spoken about, you've lived through. What about John's approach at JBay? Can you compare it to any other surfer you've seen before?
You know, he has a very, very unique approach. I think he combines old school carving with kind of this incredible modern speed and reactivity. The carves that he's doing now are like next level, not only because it's a pure carve, but like midway through the carve, he might add something on extra that'll actually carve him back towards the impact zone. So I've never seen such acute angles laid down by a surfer. I mean, his angles are way tighter than anyone else has ever laid down before. And I spoke to Ross about his boards, and what's interesting, he said his boards have a wide point further up. They have a straighter nose rocker, narrow in the tail, kind of old school style. And this board, he said he's riding today, it's a 6.0, it's called the Ghost model by Parzel. So they've really refined that board so that he can really do those incredibly acute carves different to anyone.
Thank you so much, Sean Thompson, for the incredible insight coming from Coach Ross Williams. They'll be celebrating that big performance. John leaves the water with a 9.2 as a throwaway score, with the best heat so far of the day as the world champ moves on. Round 1 continues with epic surf at Jeffreys Bay. We'll bring in Ronnie Blakey and Pete Mel for the call.
Welcome back. What a performance from John Florence here in the first round of the Corona Open JBay. Unbelievable stuff. Dropping a 9-point ride at the end. Absolutely blitzing his rivals. And really, I think, marking his intentions for this contest, chasing down the ratings lead.